Houston, we have a problem.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. We copy you on the ground. You got a bunch of guys about to turn blue.
What you're seeing here is a mirage.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of DEBATISM, episode number 3. We do have Dustin this time. It is Adam Green versus Dustin Nemos, Christianity, primordial, absolute truth, or Jewish propaganda and mysticism. Should be fun. We are going a little bit off the format that I've been trying to push here a little bit. These guys wanted a little bit longer of a debate, so we've lengthened it a little bit, and it may be a little bit here and there and herky-jerky, but it will go down nonetheless. Let's bring the guys on board. Welcome to the show. We've got first Dustin Nemos. Go ahead and say hello to everybody. Welcome to the show.
Hey guys, nice to be here.
Sorry about the muting you during the intro. That was me doing that because you could be heard.
No,
so.
Oops, sorry.
I saw you come back and yeah, sorry. We
that rainstorm. We had Florida weather last time, so I apologize about the reschedule for everyone.
Well, we're happy that you're here, and it's going to be an interesting debate, so I'm looking forward to it. And then we've got Adam Green. Adam, go ahead and say hello. I'm sure people will remember you from last week.
What's up, guys? Adam Green with No More News. Appreciate you for hosting us, Jeranism. And Dustin, it's good to meet you. I look forward to this conversation on a very important issue.
Indeed. All right, great. So I guess we're going to start out with introductory comments, and then we'll start out here. But actually, let me get this ready for you. We will do a quick flip of the coin, and let's see here if we can do this over here. Yeah. Somebody made a website, believe it or not. It's Jeranism.fun. I don't know why they made this. They just heard about it, and it's actually just a coin toss website. So we're going to use it tonight. Jeranism.fun. If you ever need to do a coin toss and you don't have a coin with you, you can do it this way. Let me bring it up here. You guys can see it, and then we will go ahead and get started. How about this one? There you go. So who's going to call it? We'll have Adam call it. Adam, do you want Neil deGrasse or Bill Nye?
DeGrasse.
DeGrasse it is. Let's see what it is. It is.
You double NASA's budget.
It is Neil deGrasse. We got to double NASA's budget. All right, so you can choose to go first or second.
I'll go second.
Okay, that means you're up first, Dustin.
I'll take the final word.
Ooh, it's going to be the final word to Adam. All right, Dustin, you're up. You got 7 minutes. And oops, well, I don't have a clock ready for 7 minutes, so give me a minute, and I'll put that up there. But you can go ahead and start and.
Somebody create a clock app.
Yeah, please. Jeranism.clock. We need that as soon as possible. Jeraclock.
Are we doing the intro and the claims and questions, or are we just doing the
No, just the intro now, and go ahead and do 7 minutes. So just kind of a high level overview of your position, I guess would be best.
Okay, real fast intro about myself, I guess. And I'm going to read from a script, so I keep it short. I have a tendency to ramble. I am Nemos. A lot of people know me as a reporter. I'm also, more recently, in the last few years, a man of faith and what I call a scientific fundamentalist. I was a former lifelong atheist, anti-theist. In fact, I hated religion. I thought it was the source of most of the world's problems. I went to public school like everyone else. I am many things to many people, depending on who you ask. I've worn many hats in my life. Fake news and the establishment hate me. Clickbait, alt media, and Jew gatekeepers fear me. And I've spent my life committed to the truth because my people perish for lack of knowledge. I'm the archivist at the Serapeum or Serapeum.com, which is a hidden history archive. And I'm host of The Silent War at nemosnewsnetwork.com. By trade, I was an investor that became a reporter, author, and historian, scholar, and father. And after pissing off the deep state, I found I had a pre-vax heart attack. I never vaxxed. And I've spent my time since preparing my family for the tribulation ahead and archiving the hidden history of the world that is disappearing and being rewritten from the internet at record and rapid speed for my children and everyone else's sake. So that is basically at theserapeum.com/his story revealed. That's a very high level collection of my work and basically my magnum opus and my life's most important projects all at once. That's what I want my children to read if something else happens to me. With that said, I've got 3 questions and 4 claims because that was the original format I had prepared for. I know it's going to be a little bit longer than that, so I may not need 7 questions. 1 question, and we'll get to it. I can rephrase it later so you don't have to remember it. What is your falsifiability threshold? And what would actually convince you to accept that you're wrong on your positions about Jesus and God? 2, how can something come from nothing? We're going to get into the fundamental logic of this and the arguments and rhetoric around it. And 3, what evidence do you actually have that Judaism created Christianity rather than opposed it? and 4 claims. Without God, scientism is what I call fake science, fake news and science, fails to comport to reality on reason and logic, evidence using the the historical investigative method, and the scientific method. And 4, that with God, only one religion on earth has miracles, prophecies, evidences all around us, and super synchronicity with reality and super accuracy with history, all pointing to Jesus, the miracle man who died and was resurrected. So there's really only one religion it can be, and religion has to be for multiple reasons. But fake science is fake science, and it's basically easily debunked fake news, including the globe Earth. So we can get into that if we really need to in terms of the atheist versus creationist science and arguments. But I would like to start from the position that there is a God, and it can only be Jesus and Yahweh. And the Jews have stolen that. They have actually committed basically identity theft. And they are in the Bible. They share the same history as we do, but they're on the opposing team. They are the children of the devil, literally the seed of the serpent. They are the Nephilim, the inhuman mutants or hybrid strains from the pre-flood world, the giants, or the elongated skull head monsters that we've seen at multiple child sacrifice ritual sites, at megalithic structures we still can't build today. And also, they are not obviously the Old Testament Hebrew Israelites who were their sworn enemies, blood enemies. And it goes all the way back to Genesis, when there's a war between the creation of God, which is mankind, and the creation of these fallen angels, which is the Nephilim. Today, people call them the Anunnaki, but in the ancient world, they call them the Nephilim and the fallen angels. So that's basically my position. The Jews have switched it all around. They've stolen history. They've changed everything around. God promises their ultimate destruction in Obadiah 18, but they are actual demons, and that's why they're behind every single organized evil on earth throughout pretty much all of human history. That pretty much is my position, so I give it to you.
Okay, Adam, you got 7 minutes. Go ahead when you're ready.
Oh, shoot. I wanted to set my alarm. Just a second.
Can you see the clock on the screen? You should be able to see it.
Oh.
If you can see my...
Yes,
okay.
I can. Perfect. Okay, restart it.
Okay, you're good.
Can you do that? All
Yep.
right, cool.
Knock it down one. There you go.
You already got a clock. Okay, cool.
Jeranism.clock. Somebody already created
All right.
it.
So Torah Judaism, Torah Messianism, Moshiachism is the myth that's conquered the world. Half the planet believes it, between the Jews, the Christians, and the Arabs, all the Abrahamic faiths. They all share so much in common, mostly the Torah and the Tanakh and the Hebrew prophets. They all believe Abraham had a covenant. They all believe that Moses got the commandments, Noah's Ark, Adam and Eve, all of the patriarchs. And it's really full spectrum dominance, and no other thing has dominated human history more the last 1700 years than Torah Judaism. And the whole purpose of Judaism, the whole purpose of Yahweh, the God of Israel, the God of Zion, is theological conquest and dominion over the nations, the goyim of the earth. They want a one world religion. They want to eradicate all of the so-called pagan idol worship and have all of the cultures, all of the nations worship the God of Israel and his nation of priests. That is their mission and their destiny to accomplish, is have all of the nations become essentially Noahides and acknowledge the God that chose them. And the instrument that they have very clearly in the Old Testament and the New Testament to do this is God's Messiah, the Moshiach. And this is prophesied very clearly, straightforward readings. These are the mainstream interpretations of these things, that it's prophesied that the nations would worship the God of Israel. It happens with Christianity and Islam. The rabbis, official Orthodox groups, rabbis all throughout and sages all throughout Judaism's history. And even the top sage in Judaism, Maimonides, says Christianity and Islam are God's divine plan preparing the world for the Messianic age. And Christianity So rabbis are bragging about it, and Christianity and Islam are now today playing their roles as Ishmael and Esau to help manifest the end times prophecies, following the script, following the blueprint to achieve their goals of Zionism, which is really just Judaism. And they did this through Christianity and Islam. I'm going to share screens real quick here and show you just a few verses. Jesus is a fake midrashic mythical deception. He is the fake prophecy fulfilling Messiah that was started off as a celestial, heavenly redeemer, a mediator between God and the world, an intercessor, our minister or guardian angel in heaven, logos type of character. And then it was later euhemerized in the Gospels. But the earliest sects were having Merkaba mysticism, visions and dreams, and reading him from the scriptures. And they took this, Paul, the pagan to the Gentiles, took this and theologically conquered the world, getting the whole world to, through the Roman Empire, imposing Torah Judaism, Torah Messianism, and the God of Israel over all of the world. So am I sharing screen here yet? No, here we go. So very clearly, this is not debatable at all what the goal of Judaism is. Ezekiel, the heathen shall know that I am the Lord. That means the Goyim. All the Goyim shall know that I am Hashem. That was the ultimate goal all along. Christianity accomplished that. Tobit 14:6, all the Goyim shall turn and fear the Lord God truly and shall bury their idols. A big one, the messianic prophecies of Daniel, which is a known forgery, by the way. The vision of the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven. He was given authority, glory, and sovereign power. All nations and peoples, every language worshiped him. His dominion, this is what they want, was dominion, one world religion, according to their prophecies, rule over the whole earth with their Davidic dictatorship, Moshiach ben David, dominion over all the earth and the kingdom from Zion, from Jerusalem, according to the prophecies. Even in Daniel 7, the Rashi, the top Jewish commentator, says, and he gave them dominion. That's dominion over the nations. For the heathen, he likens to beasts, and Israel, he likens to a man because they're humble and innocent. That is Christians. They are proudly calling themselves sheep and of the flock of the King of the Jews, who was the shepherd that was meant to conquer the Gentiles all along. Zechariah 14:9, the Lord shall be king over all the earth. And that day there shall be one Lord. And one more, Psalms 22, which is one of the top Psalms that they quote mined to create the Jesus story, says that the kindred of the nations, the Michipot of the Goyim, shall bow down in worship before thee. He is the governor over the Goyim. That's the goal of the Messiah. And Paul, who we have, hold on, how much time do we have? I can't see it. Can you just tell me?
1:45.
So Paul and the Christian sects that came before him, probably related to the Essenes, the Ebionites, the poor ones, the Nazarites, Paul, James, John, they were doing the same thing that Paul was doing. They were seeing him mystically, esoterically, midrashically in the scriptures, connecting similar scriptures. This was a popular genre of exegesis around this time in Judaism. And they were searching the scriptures for mysteries and revelations from God, to mysteries of what their redemption in the Messiah would look like. And this is what they did, was just from a couple books, a couple prophecies, they were able to connect the dots of similar themes in midrashic fashion. And you get the whole Jesus narrative from Daniel and Zechariah and Isaiah and the Psalms and Wisdom of Solomon and Book of Enoch. They had these prophecies in front of them, and they created a new story fulfilling these things of the suffering Messiah, Son of Man, who is to be rejected and go to the Gentiles. And like Joseph in the Old Testament, he is to rule over the Gentiles, be the power behind the throne after he's rejected by his brothers. So Paul says in Galatians, he did not receive the gospel. And mind you, half of the New Testament is supposedly written by Paul. Really, scholars believe there's only 7 authentic letters, but he never knew Jesus. The earliest sources we have of Jesus, and he didn't know him, and nobody did, because he started as a mythological character from revelation and from scripture. And
Okay.
he says it. Is that time?
Time. Yep.
Okay. I'll leave it there. I can leave it there for now.
All right, Dustin, we can start out with the questions portion, and it can be a back and forth, but get your question in first, and we'll go from there.
Okay. I'll share, so you can just read it if you want. Adam, or I can read it if you like.
Mm-hmm.
Right here are the 3 questions.
So go ahead and read the first.
So what is your falsifiability threshold? So what would it take to change your mind?
What would it take to change my mind?
Yeah.
Some type of miracles, some better evidence of extra biblical people seeing Jesus, reporting his things. Also, if the Gospels weren't written decades after the fact, and not by eyewitnesses, by in Greek, where they're quoting the Septuagint. There's so many ways. I suggest you read the final chapter of Nailed by David Fitzgerald. He has a whole chapter of what it would look like if there was a historical Jesus. Just that alone, let alone if Christianity was real. But
if you have specific arguments, for example, and I'm sure you know, I can probably address.
If there was some evidence for God besides ancient scripture and supposed prophecy fulfillments, like it's so much more simple an explanation that these prophecies weren't all fulfilled and all these magical miracle things happened, but just that some ancient myth maker storyteller, they're known for telling good stories, came up with some stories, and it's the myth that conquered the world.
Okay. Question 2. How can, and this goes, I know your position is atheism, right? Am I correct?
Agnostic, but definitely not believing in the God of Israel.
Do you believe that there is a God? Do you hold that there's a creator?
There could be. No, I won't argue for a creator. I think there's good arguments that there isn't a creator, but I don't rule it out. You just can't have complete certainty, and it's just, existence is such, appears so miraculous that I don't rule it out.
Fair enough. We'll try to stay out of that area, and I'm going to try not to have to prove God's existence, because that can be a totally different long-term debate. If we're going to stay into the Jewish, is it real, and the Jewish influence? I'll try
Jesus
to keep it
is Jewish too. I want to get into that a lot.
Sure. And my position, and I think Jeranism's position, is that it's a flat Earth. I call it a biblical Earth. I think it's more than just flat. I think it's also young and enclosed, and it's the geocentric center of the universe, and it's it's stationary or not moving. And I think that there's some other aspects to it. Anyway, I think that pretty much proves that there has to be a creator. That's how it was proven to me as a lifelong atheist. I realized that all the science around the globe Earth is bullshit. There's zero evidence in support of mass and all that. So
Flat Earth is what brought you to Christianity?
Yeah. There has to be a creator, so I had to figure out which one it was. I looked in all of them, and the only one that has all these prophecies and history pointing toward it is this one religion. And all of the other religions, in fact, are actually on the opposing team, and they tell the same story. We'll get into it. Anyway, so we'll skip the proving God aspects. My other question was basically, what evidence do you have that Judaism created Christianity rather than opposed it?
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, Paul was a Pharisee. It was Second Temple Jews and people that followed the Hebrew Torah that were circumcising and practicing in synagogues and waiting for a Messiah to save them from the Romans. And Christianity is all based on the Hebrew scriptures. The Messiah is the Davidic heir, the branch of David, the root of David. And David was the king of Judah. The people in Judah were the Judeans that were practicing Judaism. I mean,
okay,
basically all scholars and all religious people will acknowledge that Christianity is a derivative of Judaism. I mean, it's to be the new Israel. You're building yourself on the old.
I would not.
Okay. What were they being grafted into, if not Judaism?
So I want to get to it one at a time. So first, I'm going to put down a list here. Does Judaism come from that? Is this our rebuttal period, or should we wait?
No, I mean, do you want to just acknowledge that you got the answers that you wanted for those 3 questions? at least preliminary?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we'll move to Adam
I got
asking
some
you.
notes I want.
Sure. We'll move to Adam asking you his 3 questions, and then we can go into the claims, and then you can comment on anything that you want there.
Okay, perfect.
So did you have 3 questions for him, Adam? Or any questions for him?
Well, yeah, I would start by saying, how could you possibly say that the character of Jesus was not Jewish?
Sorry,
because I've got about 30 verses that clearly indicate that he is, and all Christians basically know this without even any question or hesitation. All scholars and everybody has always known that. I mean, it says
they're all
explicitly he's the King of the Jews. So your divine God-given religion, he sent his son to die in a blood atonement sacrifice and create a religion, and everybody's wrong. So you're just saying that God is a complete incompetent failure?
No, in the Bible it actually says, and Paul warns. Funny that we're talking about Paul. He actually warns, and I forget the specific phraseology, but I'm going to go off of memory here. Beloved, I would not that ye be ignorant of this, but forgetfulness has come in part upon my people for her sins. And that basically pertains to the story here. The white Caucasian Israelite race has forgotten who she is, and the enemy stepped in and stole her identity. The name stealers have
He's
stolen
talking
who
about
we
the
are.
Jews.
All
though,
historical references to Jesus are a white guy.
When Paul says his people, he's talking about the Jews.
No, he's talking about the Judeans and the Yahudim. They actually put the word Jew in around the 1600s. That word was not in the original scriptures at all. This is easy to confirm. It's a big deception, and it falls apart like Swiss cheese when you actually look into their so-called claim. They don't fulfill any of the prophecies. They don't act like Abraham. They're not of Abraham, or they would fulfill his works. Jesus actually came rebuking them for their false teachings that were replacing the law, for the teachings of the elders, for the Talmud, which is their actual Bible. They don't follow the Torah. They never have. They spit on the Torah. They invert everything.
That's so false. They do not spit on the Torah. It's their most sacred thing. They're the people of the book.
They don't.
The Talmud is completely based on the Torah. It's interpretations and commentaries and arguments about the Torah. All of my problems. See, this is the problem with the people that
hold on, let him talk. Let him go.
This is the problem with people that are only willing to criticize the Talmud, but not the Torah. Their supremacy comes from the Torah. Their whole agenda for the one world government comes from the Torah, the one world religion. Their anti-Gentile sentiments come from the Torah. None of that is in the Talmud. If you're not willing to condemn the Talmud, if you're not willing to condemn the Torah, you're not a legitimate opposition to Judaism and to the Zionist agenda.
Okay, let Dustin go. Finished answering that question.
Okay, so basically, they have always, and I'm going to share a screen here, they've always had the opposite actual doctrines from the actual Torah. They allow all of the things that are forbidden in the actual Christian religion and in the actual Torah. Here's an example of the difference in religion.
They're keeping
Judaism
kosher, they're keeping the Sabbath, they're keeping the circumcision, and Christians don't.
Adam, let him keep going just to finish this answer.
They approve of sodomy, child sacrifice to idols, cursing parents, witchcraft, bestiality, harlotry, blasphemy. They're not required to keep vows. They're actually allowing murder in their religion. Yeah. In the Christian religion, it prohibits sodomy, child sacrifice, witchcraft, cursing, bestiality, harlotry, blasphemy, breaking of vows, and murder. All of that's it's completely the opposite religion. They're the same people.
They twist it.
They're the cousins. They have the same history. We are in the same Bible. They're the giant Nephilim that were eating and enslaving us and killing our babies for blood sacrifice.
They're the shortest.
And we're the actual. It's a completely opposite religion that they keep. But here's the thing. Would you want to be the enemy in the Bible that took over the world, or do you want to sneak in and pretend to be the good guys? And that's what happened. They're the name stealers. They've always been known as the name.
This is so sad when I hear Christian identity people say this, that they're imposters that stole your identity. Like, this is God's plan to have a chosen people. You think you're the real chosen people, and his plan is to let the devil's children supposedly steal your identity. This is God's plan.
Actually promised in Scripture. It was all prophecy.
If anything, it's the Christians that aren't following the commandments of the Old Testament and keeping the covenant, and that they're supposed to keep everlasting.
I agree. We are required to follow those laws that Jesus died on the cross to bring us back to, after swearing not one iota would pass from those laws until heaven and earth passed. You absolutely are on the point. However, Christians have been taught by Jews that they're not supposed to follow it because it's Jewish.
And to explain those Talmud verses, I'll agree with you. Like over the centuries, the Pilpul and the Talmud, and coming up with ways to scheme against the nations and interpret their verses in ways, but still the core of their identity is from the Torah, not from the Talmud. Yes, the Talmud is very authoritative, and they study it a lot, but it's based on the Torah. If you're not willing to condemn the Torah, you're not opposed to the God of Zion. You are a Zionist, basically. And if you, it's really sad when I see these Christian identity people. It's like they're spitting on their actual ancestors and traditions and cultures, and almost implicitly conceding that the Hebrews and the Jews are like the superior people because you want to be them so bad. You want to be Jacob. You want to have had stole the birthright. You want to be the one that rules the earth. You want Esau to serve you. You're not, instead of helping me and expose Torah and supremacy and the Moshiach agenda to rule the world, you're saying it's a good thing and you want to be it. I see it as a distraction.
There's two
Go ahead, Dustin, finish that off.
First of all, I was atheist. I had no particular agenda or bias here. I was an atheist against this. I didn't really want to believe it. Secondly, in terms of exposing them, I mean, you call them bad people. I call them the actual demons of the Old Testament. So there's no one here exposing them more than me. No one in the whole world.
That's not true. Stop. Hold on. Let me respond to that point, please. I'm saying that they came up with a psychological, religious, theological warfare deception, which I can prove very clearly with verses. You're coming up with something basically mirroring what they originally thought about us. It's them and their Kabbalah secrets that consider us evil and satanic and from the Sitra Achra, and that we're the seed of Satan and Satan is our guardian angel. And instead of helping me expose them for their supremacy and dehumanization of us, you're mirroring their craziness, providing them cover and giving them something to kvetch about for their victim status. You're becoming the villain.
Okay, I can respond to that. I can respond to that. So instead of helping me to expose their greatest lie, you're actually covering for it by going against our actual savior, the white Jesus, who was a real guy and who all references prove was a white guy. They stole our identity, and now they're trying to use it against us.
Adam,
let's
go on to question 2.
Giant heads and
let's go to question 2. We can come back to that if you want, but I think he sufficiently answered that first question. So go ahead, number 2.
I want to share screen if I can find it. Shoot. Oh, there it is. Okay, sorry.
No problem.
It jumped around on me.
You're not. No, you're
okay, so you said when Paul is talking to his people, he's talking to. You said the Gentiles. I said he's talking to the Jews. In Acts 3:17, he says, "Now, fellow Israelites," speaking to the Jews who don't believe in Jesus. He says, "Fellow Israelites." So he says that the Jews, the Pharisees, are Israelites, not that they're Edom. So there's not one verse in all of the New Testament that clearly says that the Jews are really secretly Edom and they stole your identity. The whole crux, the linchpin of all of your theory. There's not one verse, but there's I just found about 25 verses that prove definitively that they are the Israel and they are the Hebrews and the Jews and the chosen people. And that your whole theory is just completely baseless.
You're going off of a fairly recent edition here. The original actual manuscripts did not use the word Jew at all. It used either the word Yahudim or the word Judean. Now, Yahudim is of a bloodline of the family of Judah, and Judean was a multicultural nation at certain points. So that's like saying an American Nemos. It doesn't really make a lot of sense, especially when you start thinking about multiculturalism. And that is a horrible translation anyway. However, Paul himself says he's a Hebrew and he is an Israelite. And the Pharisee were a political party and a religious party, of which came to be dominated by the Idumeans with Caiaphas and John Hyrcanus. Actually, John Hyrcanus.
So was Gamaliel?
Let me finish.
Was he an Edomite? What?
I'll lose it. John Hyrcanus. The king basically brought in the Idumeans, forced them to convert, and then treated them like Jews or actual Israelites from that point on. And then his son was betrayed by them and killed, and then they took over the priesthood and everything else with the help of Rome. And basically, from that point on, they were colluding with Rome in order to control the actual people of God.
It never calls them Edomites once, though. And we know that Herod had some Edomite blood, but that was just one person. He was the puppet leader of Rome, basically. That doesn't mean all the Pharisees, all the Sanhedrin are all secretly Edomites. Edom has always been, before Christianity took over Rome, they were already considered Edom. In all of the books in Judaism, it always identifies Rome and Edom with Christianity and Esau. You're going to say, oh, well, the Jewish Biblical Almanac says once that some of the Edomites are Jews. That you find one example out of context.
Actual religion. Yeah, not the actual original Christian teachings. Edom was the end time enemy, and prophecy speaks about how they'll rise up within, they'll take control, they'll be living. And
all of Judaism thinks that that's secretly Christianity.
Very specific prophecies that Jews are basically doing to screw Christianity today. All of that was prophesied in Old Testament.
Does Esau live by the sword?
Esau,
that's Rome.
Basically. And here's the understanding, and here's how it basically breaks down. You got Jacob,
Rome's birthright,
12 sons. You got his brother Esau, which became Edom, which mixed with the seed of the serpent, the Nephilim, the remnant giants.
Yeah, that's what all the Kabbalah rabbis say about us. Instead of making the point that you want to expose,
that's actually
you want to mirror what they say. Hold on, let me answer.
They're inverting.
Even of all of the Christian, and because the vast majority of Christians are all philo-Semitic and cursed if you curse them. Jesus was a Jew. They're God's chosen people, huge Israel supporters. But there's a small percentage that are so-called anti-Zionist, even though all Christians are Zionists. They still worship the God of Zion. But they're like anti-Israel. They're anti-Jewish. They give them their Esau hates Jacob victim status and delegitimize anti-Semitism. But even of all the Christian anti-Semites, your take is even just a small, minuscule fraction of that thinks, oh, they're actually the synagogue of Satan, or they're actually the seed of Satan and they're demons, which is actual anti-Semitism that dehumanizes them. How we should be exposing them for dehumanizing us and wanting to rule over us, but instead you just want to mirror it with an idea that's going to go nowhere and give them their victim status and just stop us from exposing the Judeo deception takeover.
Adam, look at your second question again. Hold on. Look at your second question and just make sure that you ask for a clarifying point.
Okay. I thought I was on the screen. I'm not on the screen.
I need a response.
Okay, go ahead. You can respond.
Well, okay. So clarify
that you're falling for Jewish propaganda. Okay. They have inverted everything. They are the actual Old Testament demons. They have their prophecy to be destroyed in Obadiah 18, where all Edomites, not a single one, will remain. They won't even speak Yahweh's name. They say Hashem, which translates roughly to Asmodeus. They are worshipers of the devil. Many of them admit this.
Hashem means the name. Hashem means the name. They
admit everything but
they
Yahweh.
Don't secretly think they're Edom. You know that, right? Instead of just exposing what all the rabbis are saying, what all their scriptures.
Many rabbis admit it. Let me finish.
No,
I can show you.
No rabbis think that they're secretly Edom and Esau, dude. I'm telling you, they all think it's the Gentiles in Christianity. Yes.
That's not true at all.
The fact that you're denying that means you're denying the biggest threat of prophecy and threat of Judaism by denying that.
No, they are basically, it's the greatest case of identity theft in human history. Can I share screen?
And that just comes off as so pathetic. They stole our identity. When did you just stop circumcising and forget that you're the real chosen people? Hold on, isn't it still my questions? I only got one question out.
Yeah, it's still, you haven't done your third one yet. But here's what we need to do.
I didn't even give you some specific quotes about rabbis saying it if you want.
Well, we're still on the second question.
And I could show you thousands. All over their scriptures about that we're Edom and Esau. And instead of exposing that, you want to just mirror it and then so we're not exposing it. Okay. You want to become the villain in the story.
You're the enemy. Then you don't want to be identified as that.
Everything that I expose Judaism and rabbis for, you're saying is true and it's a good thing and it's really the white people. Realize how much of a distraction that is? How that strategy is just completely dead on arrival? It's heading down a dead end. It's just like QAnon. It's a dead end.
You have no arguments because there are no actual.
And it's still my turn to question. Here come my argument.
Even atheists admit Jesus was real.
So let's
even Bart Ehrman. Yeah, there's a big cover up in all the kosher academia that's been dominated by Christians and Jews.
Adam,
they don't want the truth to come out that Jesus is actually a deception. Then people would go like, Oh, he's a
Wait.
myth? Well, who came up with that and why? And then you read the scriptures and it's just blatantly obvious.
Time out.
Why?
Adam, I want you to read your second question
Every
again.
historian was wrong.
Hold on, Dustin. I want
Did you
him to
say
read
every-
his second question again. I want to make sure, see if I think you answered it sufficiently. Read your second question, Adam.
My second question is still my first one. I want to talk about how could Jesus not be Jewish?
No, he answered that one sufficiently. What's number 2?
No, he did not answer it sufficiently. Because I have verse after verse that he has to explain for that clearly says that he was Jewish. Did he freeze or something?
I think so. No, I meant that he gave you his response
his
for it.
screen, so I can't share my screen right now. And he might have froze.
I think he froze because I don't think. Let me stop sharing. You can try again. Let me see. Usually people don't freeze like that, though. I've never really seen that.
It's weird. It's like it's taking up my whole screen right now, too.
Yeah, I'm trying to stop it here. View option, stop participant sharing.
And I can't see.
And it's still frozen on the share screen.
there we go.
Oh, now he's gone. Wait, no, he's not. Hold on. What happened here? What happened here? What's participants? It's just me and you. All right, we'll give him a second to come back. Let me see if I got anything I could play here. Some sort of ad or something. And I'll text him over here. No, I guess the point of the questions is that you get to ask a question, he has to answer it. Now, if you feel that he answers it falsely,
well, I get a rebuttal. Like,
Yeah.
how about like I bring up a topic and ask him, and then
Yep.
like have a little bit of a line of questions? Because I've got verse after verse that clearly show, without question, that the character of Jesus is Jewish and was coming to the Jews. So like with a couple verses, I could easily disprove his whole shtick. He's got no verses that.
well, that's what you're going to have to do. So after we get through these questions, then if there's points in the questions that you think he's false, you'll have a chance to present that and say, here's why he's wrong about that. Because you have to admit, we're not going to get to a point where he agrees with you. So it's.
I hope so.
Well,
I
let's
hope
see.
he agrees with me.
Oops,
because
you guys switch sides. Let me fix
the
it.
approach that he's doing right now is counterproductive.
All right. So your second question was what? Because we had already moved on to the second question. You had asked it, but I don't remember what it was.
We're still talking about it. How could you say Jesus is Jewish, giving all these verses?
So what's your second
And-
question? Because I thought you read it already.
No, we're still on my first question.
Okay.
We got
There's
completely
many
sidetracked.
arguments.
Sounds good.
I've written some anthropological articles about this.
Well, this is my question time.
Well, you
Let me
asked me,
present.
right?
No, I didn't.
Okay, ask question number 2 then. Oops, what happened?
Okay, I'll just ask the same question. How can you say that that you're the real Jews given these verses when Jesus was the King of the Jews? Okay, here we go. It
Same
says
answer.
you're sharing again.
Same answer.
Dude,
This is it. I don't have
no.
anything. I mean, I have a lot of other things.
My question is going to show a couple verses before I just ask a question and then let him give
Okay,
his
go ahead.
Okay, go ahead and show. You
his
share.
propaganda answer. Okay. All right.
Answer.
So, who was it that was wanted to be redeemed in Second Temple Judaism before Christianity? Who was waiting for a Messiah, a Redeemer, to come and conquer the nations and the Gentiles and the Romans? Who was it? It was the people that circumcised, that followed the Torah. It was the Jews. They used to be called the Hebrews, and then the Israelites, and then later on it was Judah, the Judeans, the Jews. Even though you semantically try to differentiate and have some nuance that's not there, it's clearly the Jews. John 1:11, Jesus, he came to which was his own, but his own did not receive him. How can Jesus come to his own, which are the Jews, and not be the King of the Jews, not be the Jewish Messiah? This one verse alone proves that they're the Jews and that Jesus is the Jewish Messiah and that they rejected him. You can't reject something that wasn't yours to begin with. One more verse, 2 more verses. 2 Corinthians 11:22, Paul says, speaking of the Jews, are they Hebrews? So am I. Are they Israelites? So am I. Are they the seed of Abraham? So am I. So this 2 verses alone, and
1 second,
already
he's got
your
one more.
theory's out the window. Dead on arrival. The debate's over.
Okay, your turn to answer that,
Hold on.
Dustin.
Let me give one more. You say, how did Christianity come from Judaism? Well, Galatians 1:13, Paul says his previous life was in the traditions of his fathers, the Israelites, Judaism, advancing in Judaism, the traditions of his followers. He says he is a Jew, born in Tarsus, trained under Gamaliel, who was the head of the Sanhedrin. You don't think that's Jewish? Fellow Israelites, So the Israelites are Jews. Paul's a Jew. Is Paul a secret Edomite? Is Gamaliel a secret Edomite? Christianity started in the synagogues. Okay, I'll let you respond to those.
Dustin, you have 2 minutes to respond to that.
Okay, so this is a very in-depth answer. However, you can easily discern this for yourself. The original manuscripts did not use the word Jew. This is part of the Great Deception. And when you find this out, it breaks down a lot of other things. And certain parts of the Bible don't even make sense anyway. It's kind of how they took out the word Yahweh, God's name, over 6,000 times and replaced it with the Lord, which is Baal in English, by the way. Anyway, the Jews admit it. Strictly speaking, I'm going to share the screen as I read the quote. Strictly speaking, it is incorrect to call an ancient Israelite a Jew or to call a contemporary Jew an Israelite or a Hebrew. This is from the Jewish Almanac. Jews began to call themselves Hebrews and Israelites in 1860 from Encyclopedia Judaica. And Edom is called
Yehudi Judeans.
In Talmud, their religion is to deceive us. They are basically
with Christianity.
Burnt everything. No,
that's the deception with Christianity.
By changing Christianity.
The deception is when Jacob dresses up and pretends to be Esau, pretends to be the scapegoat. They stole our birthright. They stole the birthright of the firstborn empire, Edom, when they took their birthright and replaced it with worship of the king of the Jews as their God, when they theologically conquered Rome.
Okay,
God, Yahweh is the original God, the original creator that Adam and Eve and everyone else after that, until basically the fall of the Thracian Empire and then the rise of Sumerian false religions, which were basically based on the Nephilim worship of the fallen angels of Genesis 6. And that's where you get all the Anunnaki and ancient aliens bullshit about giants coming from aliens. They came from fallen angels. They had giant heads. They were giants. They ate us. Goliath was real. Jesus was real. It was all real. It's provable. Miracles and provable prophecies like Sodom and Gomorrah, pure sulfur balls sticking out of the mountainside, unnaturally pure. An entire mountainside, an entire civilization of multiple cities nuked, basically a wasteland of basic glass and ash. People standing beside them, the buildings were incinerated from basically hip down where the wall was. And there's just a little burnt nub of spine sticking out. This is the kind of evidence that the archaeologists are actually proving God is real. All of the stuff in the Old Testament was real, but they stole our identity. They were in the Old Testament as Edomites. They're in the end times as Gog and Magog, who take over Christian nations from within, destroy us, pervert everything, and try to take us away from God. They're behind the Great Deception, fake science, the whole globe Earth, evolution, vaccines, all of that bullshit. It's all fake, and it's all to control, kill, or deceive and lead us away from God. And they basically trying to take over since. And they've used the Holocaust and this argument, this lie, this Jewish propaganda that they are the chosen people of God, that they are the ancient Hebrew Israelites. They're using it as a weapon because they know that Christians give a shit about the Bible. They don't. They follow the Talmud, which hates the Bible.
Okay, Adam, question number 3.
Completely absurd to say that. The Talmud, I mean, they have some interpretations on the Torah to work to their advantage, but it's all based on the Torah. They recite the Torah in Hebrew far better than any Christians know. It's completely absurd. It's completely based on the Torah. Their supremacy comes from the Torah, and the fact that you won't condemn the Torah makes you just a Torah Judeo-Zionist apologist, in my opinion. This whole thing about hold on.
Can we go to question 3?
Let me ask the question.
Yeah, question 3. Go ahead.
They stole your identity. So when did you just forget that when did the true Israelites that went up to Europe supposedly just miraculously forgot that they were chosen and stopped following the commandments and circumcising and all of this stuff? And then all of these fake Jews secretly converted and stole your identity. And it says this nowhere clearly in the Bible at all whatsoever. But I just have verse over verse saying that God is the God of the Jews and then the Gentiles. And Paul was a Jew and Jesus was the king of the Jews. And he was handed over to the Gentiles. Like, no. What you're proposing is so fringe and baseless.
I realize it's fringe. But not for long. The seed war is the truth, and people are waking up to it as they realize Jews are in control of everything and they're demons. It's all real. And by the way, this is the big secret. This is an ancient Christian
that we should. Hold on. This is so important. How can we condemn the supremacist rabbis for thinking they're chosen to rule over us, and that we're all meant to serve them, and that we're the seed of Satan, like they believe? How are we supposed to expose them for that when you're just saying you are that and you want the same thing. You're just like canceling them out and like running cover instead of exposing them.
God has a favorite people. That's true.
No,
but they've let him down a bunch of times.
And
those
the whole
people
world
were
thinks
punished.
it's the Jews because of Christianity.
And those people were punished. The Jews don't even
It's
claim
working
to be
out
all
real great.
tribes. The Jews claim to be one of the 12 tribes. The other were 13 tribes because there was a double blessing. The other tribes are lost. They claim to be part of a tribe that should have a multitudinous seed. They're not. They're not Abrahamic. They're only 2% or less of the world population. They claim to be the tribe that fulfilled all these prophecies. They didn't. One tribe, actually 12 tribes, did fulfill the prophecies. They claim to be the fulfillment of coming back into their land. Actually, 1776 is the exact fulfillment of the prophecy of the tribe of Israel of Manasseh coming back into their land. America is the tribes of Israel coming back into their land, exactly according to prophecy and date, exactly according to many other prophecies that are also easy to prove in terms of historical or actual physical evidence of some of the miracles, like I said, with Sodom and Gomorrah or the flood, worldwide flood. I mean, fish bones atop every mountaintop in the world, for example, all sorts of other things like the Great Inconformity. We could just go on and on and on into the actual evidence.
Well, let's go to claims because we go out of time here, but I think claims will be good. You can make a claim.
How can you say that they're Esau fulfilling prophecy? It says Esau will live by the sword and serve your brother. And the Christians are now the Noahide servants of the Jews. They're the Roman Empire used the sword and lived by the sword in wars to spread Torah messianism all over the world. And you still I can't hammer enough how
they're opposite religions. There's no more religion on earth.
They're not. They're both Torah messianism. They're not opposite religions. No more. They have everything in common. They've got basically everything in common. Minor differences.
They have not. They're the opposite teams of the same.
No, you're mirror images. You're two Jewish sects fighting. You're two Jewish sects fighting over who the Jewish Messiah is.
They're opposite teams of the same story. They're Edomites infiltrating as Khazari, Edomite, Khazari, and Idumeans infiltrating as Israelites.
Khazari is disinfo. Khazari is kosher disinfo.
Khazari was an actual nation.
To misdirect, to take the focus off the Torah Judaism conspiracy, the Abrahamic deception that's conquered the world. You want to blame the Khazari?
Let's move to
a small part of it.
Let's move to claims, guys. So you're going first, Dustin. I want a claim followed by some evidence.
Hold on. Are we already on? I'm not done.
No, we're going to have the back and forth.
We can't just skip over the Jesus is Jewish part because there's so many verses clearly showing Jesus
in the claims
is a Jewish
section.
character.
In the claims section, go ahead and say that you can make the claim that he's Jewish and then back it up with evidence, and then he'll have to refute that. So that's what you want to do there.
Judean, Jew, it's the same thing.
No, they just changed the word. It's not the same thing.
No, you're playing a semantic game to try to create a false distinction.
You can't say Adam Green is an American. You can't say a green American is the same thing. You can't do that. It's a nationality and a physical family bloodline, a genealogy. Those are two totally different things. You can't just mix them. It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, you should be exposing the supremacist rabbis for thinking they have the chosen bloodline. Not mirroring. Demons. Not becoming the villain and the bad guy in the Jewish story.
Demons. You should help me expose them as demons.
Romans 1:16. No, I'm exposing them and their Torah supremacy, thinking that we're demons.
The greatest Jew namer of all time was Jesus Christ. He rebuked him. He provoked him.
He said salvation is of the Jews. Paul says in the end, all of Israel will be saved. He says, have they been
fake news?
Have you even read the Bible? Or do you just watch Christian identity documentaries?
Let's stop real quick. Let's go to claims and
okay. Here's my claim.
Hold on, Adam. It's not your turn. It's not your turn. Hold on. It's not your turn. Dustin, make a claim. Back it with evidence. And then Adam, when it comes to your turn, you can make that claim. Jesus is Jew, and then he's got to refute it. You can back it with evidence. So go ahead, Dustin. Your first claim.
Okay, I'm just going to read through my article here. Again, I already gave you a couple of quotes.
You got 2 minutes. Go ahead.
The word Jew replaced the words Judah, Judahite, and Judean, and of course that was originally a little different, like Yahudim. But the words.
So did the Jews kill Jesus?
My turn.
They're only Jewish when they're killing Jesus, but when it's salvation is of the Jews, then they're not Jews.
Okay, wait for his claim. Okay.
What is your claim? It's a complicated topic. I need time.
Do you have a claim title, like a topic? Go ahead and give me the claim.
Judah was the fourth son of Jacob and Leah. Judah is the territory of Judah. Israelites of the house of Judah are called Judahites. A Judean is a citizen of Judea. It's extremely confusing for the unlearned, but in the Old Testament, the incorrect word Jew never identifies a Jew. It always identifies an Israelite of the tribe or house of Judah. Jews are not Israelites. They are Edomites. In the New Testament, you must understand the context to understand who was Judah and who was Jew. since the land of Judah and the land of Idumea were merged into the land then called Judea in the 1st century BC. A Judean could then be an Israelite of the house of Judah or an Edomite Jew of the house of Esau from Idumea, what the Bible calls Amalek, the enemy. This word Jew is not a mistake. It is a deliberate tampering of scripture. The result is that the world and the churches believe the Jews are Israelites, which they are not. The Hebrew word for Judah, which is Yahudah, was replaced in the 18th century or a little bit earlier with the word Jew. This happened as a result of over 14 centuries with the variations of the Latin word Iodius. But of course, there's a lot of corruption within the Jewish controlled Roman church as well, especially after the Jesuit Jewish order took over, and increasingly on after that. But as early as the inception of the Catholic Roman government, because it was completely pagan and meant to subdue and merge paganism with Christianity from its inception, Constantine, the emperor, was himself a lifelong pagan, not a convert. It was a lie. And they basically just changed the calendar, got rid of Sabbath, put it on the wrong day, mixed in Easter and Christmas and all this other stuff that's basically blood sacrifice, pagan idolatry, and then call it Christianity, and killed all the other Christians for it, just like the Jews, just like the Muslims, which they then created to keep killing Christians after they themselves pulled back from killing Christians. But I digress. So plenty of studies to prove this, but here are just a couple of quotes I already gave you. I'll skip that part.
No, time. You got time. It's 2 minutes now for Adam to respond to that.
You've got one quote in a Jewish almanac that says some of the Edomites probably mixed with the ancient Israelites, which it probably did happen. Two nations next to each other that are intermingling. To say that the Jews secretly are really Edom and they're pretending to be Jacob is just the most ridiculous conspiracy. Instead of just addressing reality,
Argument.
Wait,
it is an argument. And here, I'm going to share now.
Ad hominem.
Oh, you got to stop
I can
sharing.
stop him.
Ad hominem.
Thank you.
It's not. It's actually an argument.
Ridiculous, not an argument. Prove it.
Saying something ridiculous is not an ad hominem. Ad hominem would be like, you've got a fedora on, so you're wrong. That would be an ad hominem.
So you basically, it's still a logical fallacy because you're trying to say that it's ridiculous and therefore it's wrong.
No, will you at least acknowledge that in all of the scriptures and all of the writings of the Jews, that it's overwhelming everywhere that Christianity represents Esau and Jesus represents Esau and Edom, and America in the West is Edom in Rome?
Because for the past 200 years, they've been switching the identities and inverting it so that they could take over our nations from within. They've convinced us we're their God's chosen people.
No, they took over our nations through Christianity by getting us to worship the Son of God as a Jewish man and the Messiah. The whole purpose of the Messiah was to conquer all the nations, to conquer the Gentiles, to be the pagan apostle to the Gentiles, to be the light into the nations.
They reject. Nobody hates Jesus.
You think you're the real Jews, but the Messiah is meant to conquer the nations, not the Jews. According to the scripture, he's to be rejected by the Jews. You should be thanking them for sacrificing your God so you could be saved with his blood atonement scapegoat sacrifice.
Adam, I would say that it's equally ridiculous to think that the Jews promote Jesus. They hate Jesus more than anyone else.
So many messianic Jews. Christianity was started by all Jews. They secretly believe and told Yeshu that Paul and Peter were secret double agents and crypto Jews.
Well, they write a lot of
created
propaganda.
Christianity.
But you should
Maimonides, the top rabbi in Judaism, says that Christianity is God's plan to convert the nations to be Noahides and worship the God of Israel, which they did.
Never trusted you.
Never. But you worship. Your whole book is written by Jews. Yeah, the New Testament is written by Jews. Paul was a Jew.
The words because they hate them.
No,
they hate God's name. They took it out. They wanted to be.
Your God is really inept if he creates a religion and lets the devil's children steal your identity, and nobody knows the truth. It just doesn't seem very divine to me. It seems like a total incompetent mess.
Can confirm that this word was changed for themselves versus originals. Okay. Anyone can confirm this.
Okay, Adam, you can go ahead. You got 2 minutes to make a claim.
All right. Romans 1:16 says, to the Jew first and also to the Greek or the Gentile. So Jesus was the King of the Jews coming to the Jews. Example 1, John 4:9, the Samaritan woman who's a Gentile said to Jesus, you are a Jew. John 4:22, Jesus says, Samaritans worship what you do not know. We worship what we do know, for salvation is from the Jews. Jesus says, salvation is Jews. Matthew 2:2, when Jesus is born, they say, where is the one who has been born King of the Jews? And it talks about the star prophecy, the messianic prophecy of Numbers 24:7, where it says a star will come out of Jacob, the scepter will rise out of Israel. Edom or Rome will be conquered and Amalek will be destroyed. Israel will go strong. Genesis 49. Judah, your brothers will praise you. The scepter will not depart from Judah. Jesus is the scepter in Psalms 110. The Lord says, sit at my right hand until I make your enemies, the enemies of the ancient Jews were the Gentiles, the Romans, a footstool. They conquered the Romans. The Lord will extend your mighty scepter from Zion. Jesus from Zion saying, rule in the midst of your enemies. Who does Jesus rule over? Gentiles, the nations, the Goyim. And also you are a priest forever. That's Melchizedek, Jesus. He will judge the Goyim. Exactly what it's about. Psalm 2:9 says, you will break them with a rod of iron. And that in the Septuagint is iron scepter. Jesus is about conquering the nations and the kings of the world for the Jews, for the chosen people. Jesus is the king of the Jews also, Matthew 27, placed above his head. Jesus is circumcised. It wasn't the Gentile.
He might have frozen.
Did I lose you?
That or he's in a Mitch McConnell state right now. It could be. It looks kind of like it if you think about it. You get 2 minutes to respond, and I will stop the screen share just to see if we can get him back here.
Okay. Should I go ahead and start then?
Yeah, go ahead. I don't know what happened to him. You're fine.
Okay, he'll be back. I'll just kind of keep it busy until he gets back, and then we'll let him pick back up.
Well, no, his claim had ended, so it's on to your response. Okay. There he is. He's back.
Okay. All right.
Well, you're muted. Hold on. You were gone for a second there, Adam.
Let him finish his thought.
Adam, you were gone for a second, and you're muted now. There you go.
Okay.
You had froze for a second. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the New Testament doesn't say they're secretly Edom and they stole our identity. It says the Pharisees sit in Moses's seat.
Okay.
And then it says, last one, what advantage then hath the Jew in their circumcision? It says they were committed the oracles of God. They're the nation of priests. They speak for God. They become God. And they become gods elevated to a divine status in the vast majority of all Christianity today. And it's not an accident.
Okay, so you got 2 minutes. Go ahead and respond to this then.
This is not a perfect image, but it's a whole lot more accurate than the official history. I realize this is a fringe idea, and I realize that most historians would disagree with me, and most theologians would disagree with me because they're afraid of losing their entire careers calling out the Jews. You know how that is.
That's true.
You know how they rewrite history and basically present a bunch of fake news. If I were to take a copy of the Bible and take out the word Jew everywhere and put in the word libtard feminazi, then you could say that a whole bunch of things about the libtard feminazis are miscorrect, or they're trying to take over the world or whatever as well. This is basically what they did. They just changed the word a bunch. This is easily verifiable versus original manuscripts. So it is actually testable. You can test this. We don't have to spend a ton of time on it. We can if you like. They do admit in many sources that they are Edomites and that Edom is in modern Jewry and that they are actually Edomites who worship the Talmud and do not keep the Torah, and the Talmud is their primary religion and it's the lifeblood of their community. And I'm just sort of remembering a couple of snippets of quotes off the top of my head, and we could just go into that. But basically they are themselves Talmudic devil worshippers who claim they heard something that was orally passed down for thousands of years, and then they finally published it. Jesus referred to it as the teachings of the elders. He rebuked these seeds of the serpents who had basically taken over. And as I said, there is no more opposite religion on earth than Judaism and Christianity. I mean, Judeo-Christian makes as much sense as Satano-Christian in my book. In terms of what Jesus had to say about them, I mean, like I said, he's the greatest Jew namer of all time. Here's some examples. John 8:44, where he calls them the children of Satan. Revelation 2:9, where he calls them the synagogue of Satan. Revelation 3:9, synagogue of Satan again. And this is basically sort of an inverted, and this meme is sort of meant to poke fun at Christians who don't get the idea that there's a synagogue of Satan. And it can still be used to sort of poke fun at those who are sort of pushing the idea that Christianity is for the Jews in some sort of benefit, because they are complete opposites. We have an opposite messiah. They're trying to outlaw Christianity. And they hate Jesus and Christians. They spit on us. So I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense to argue that
somebody have sound playing or something?
Anyway, in fact, all of the things that they want to do are basically forbidden by Christianity, and they have to sort of overcome our culture in order to make it allowed. For example,
is that one of you guys? What's that sound?
Not me.
Somebody's playing music or something
I hear you, like, your voice has changed like a robot.
right now.
Not anymore.
Oh,
You're good now.
I thought somebody was playing something. Okay, sorry.
You
Go
got a
ahead.
soundboard or voice changer or something?
Yeah, but it shouldn't be on, and I've checked. It's not
You
even.
might have
open.
accidentally clicked the button and like
Probably had like some sort of keybind on or something.
Yeah.
All right. So
I've done that before.
But did you guys hear me okay?
here we hear you
I
now.
was hearing you. Yeah.
So you guys can go back and forth if you want on this subject.
Yes.
You have about 2 minutes. Go ahead.
Please. Okay, so I mean, are you really going to deny Christians aren't the greatest allies and accomplices and enablers and supporters and defenders of Israel? Look at all the vast majority of Christianity today is completely Zionist and being more Judaized. And you just want to say that you're totally different and the only threat. They love the fact, I've documented this with rabbi clip after rabbi clip. They love the fact that all the Goyim are worshiping their Messiah, their God of Israel, becoming almost perfect Noahites besides the Trinity.
Their
And-
Messiah is not Jesus. That's pretty clear.
No, he's their anti-Messiah. This is why they don't like him. He's the villain Messiah. He's the adversary, satanic Messiah in their story. And believe it or not, those verses that you cited are out of context. Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. Let me share here. Those are actually secretly being directed at a church, and they're saying that these people are consuming food to idols, which is how they describe Christianity, because Christianity doesn't keep kosher. And if I actually read the rest of that verse, you can see that's actually cryptically, the Kabbalists have always secretly viewed Christianity as Esau, and Esau's guardian angel is Samael or Satan. They say they curse Jesus and they spit on him, or they spit towards Christians, because he is the scapegoat that represents Esau. He is Jacob dressing up in the goat skin of Esau, pretending to be the Messiah of the Gentiles that's actually working to undermine and enslave the Gentiles. He is the trap and the curse to psychologically and theologically conquer the Gentiles. And what do we have? 140 left. Here's green. Just a few more to hammer this point home. Paul says in Romans 11, as far as the gospel is concerned, they, the Jews, are enemies for your sake. So they're your opposition. You're fighting over who the Messiah is, but they're central to your story, and they were once chosen. It's controlled opposition. You're superficial conflict, but you still are worshiping their Messiah, which was the whole goal of the Messiah to begin with. It says they're the enemies of the gospel, enemies according to the gospel, but as far as election, their chosenness is concerned, they are loved on account of the patriarchs. Doesn't sound like they hate them too much to me. Romans 15, Christ has become a servant of the Jews to fulfill the promises of the patriarchs, so that the Gentiles will praise the God of Israel and be in glory. And then verse after verse, he's citing in his midrash from Isaiah, the root of Jesse, that's the Messiah, will spring up, and he will rule over the Goyim. In him, the Gentiles will put their hope, which is just a citation of Isaiah 11:10, how he came up with this idea. Oh, also, they're against him. Romans 15, Gentiles have shared in the Jews' spiritual blessings by the Jews rejecting their Jewish Messiah so that he can have a blood atonement sacrifice and save the Gentiles. So the Christians owe it to the Jews to share with them their material blessings. Sounds a little controlled oppie to me.
Time.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to share screen. I'm going to go ahead and say this bluntly, but I'm going to try to say it kindly. I don't mean to be offensive.
They're satanic. I'm right. You acknowledge it.
Most Christians, in fact, 99% are probably Christians, are wrong, and they support demons who are out to destroy them. And you are unfortunately correct in the fact that most Judeo-Christians, which is not Christianity, it's allying with anti-Christianity. Judaism is essentially anti-Christianity. It's an antichrist flavor of Satanism. There are many types of Satanism. There's a lot of paganism. It all goes back to the same place, but they're not actually following the Torah. For example, here's the Pope, here's a rabbi. Both of them cover their head when they pray. The Bible says don't do that. There's a lot of other pagan shit that they do that's not in the Bible. It's anti-biblical. They follow a bunch of anti-biblical feast days that are anti-white people, and they basically are the enemies of the Bible. They do not, like I said, fulfill any of the prophecies in the Bible. It is actually, according to one of the apostles of St. John, it is absurd to profess Christ with the lips and at the same time to practice Judaism. For Christianity did not base its faith on Judaism, but Judaism on Christianity. When you actually look at quote, by the way, when you look into actual history, actual historians and even atheist historians admit that it is all real. They just disagree on the miraculous parts and some of the beliefs, but they believe that Jesus was real and he died and he basically pissed off Rome and there was a missing body. They agree on all of that. And they agree that the followers of Jesus, who all basically were tortured to death in his name, believe what they were dying for rather than just die for a lie. There's a lot of other logical arguments against what you're saying. But the most logical of all is essentially that they are opposite religions, and Christianity blocks a lot of the bullshit and evil sin that they like to commit everywhere they are. In fact, Christians have kicked them out of 109 nations for basically eating Christian babies and doing blood sacrifice rituals. Christianity is not friendly to their actual nature, and they're not the actual people of the Old Testament. If people knew the truth, Obadiah 18 would happen immediately. And Obadiah 18 is when God says not a single Jew will survive. Whites will rise up and burn them all to death, is what the Bible says is going to happen. I'm not encouraging it, of course, but that's in Obadiah 18 when the actual tribes of Israel, the ones that fulfilled all the prophecies and the actual ones that fulfill all of the anthropological and etymological and all the other studies, basically, they will rise up from within a Jewish-controlled world that is trying to murder them all and indoctrinate their children into transgenderism. It's basically, it is biblical. It's the war of Satan and God. And the people that are trying to pervert our babies, the actual origin of transgenderism, the Talmud, where they have at least, I think, 11 different genders or so, I forget, maybe 8, I forget, but they have multiple genders in transgenderism. And that's where you get this sort of push today that no Christians want in their schools, on their children. It's from those who rule over us that have an anti-biblical religion driving them, a religion that tells them to deceive Christians, to infiltrate Christians, to corrupt their religion, and to kill them and poison them with vaccines and other poisons, and to enslave them through the courts and the laws and put them under the yoke and get ultimate revenge and poison us all to death so that they can have their Messiah, which, according to their greatest rabbi, the Zohar, is a serpent Messiah. Total anti-biblical. Same story. They go back to Genesis with us. They are our cousins, but they are demons with the seed of the serpent. How much time do I still have? I still have 2 minutes. Cool.
Well, no, I didn't ever start the clock, but are you making
time?
It's actually time. But are you making a claim or still answering the first one? I've lost where we were.
I want to mention a second part of that, which not only are they not the biblical people of Israel, but they are mentioned in the Bible many times as the enemy of the biblical people of Israel, starting with Genesis 3:15. I will put enmity between thee and the woman, between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. There is a seed war, and most Christians don't have any idea what they're talking about. Most pastors are trained at Rockefeller-funded seminaries, and pretty much Catholicism in Rome was taken over by Jews long, long ago, as long as Julius Caesar and Nero, and probably much before. They were working with them, in fact, to subdue the actual Israelite white people in the land that Rome had conquered. But, of course, there was a use of Rome to kill Jesus instead of doing it directly. They were always behind the scenes manipulating the rules, just like they do today. It was a Jewish woman that convinced Nero to kick his pregnant wife to death and set his own city on fire to blame it on the Christians. They hate us for no reason because of that verse, Genesis 3:15. In Genesis 6, there was an event where fallen angels had sex with human women. I know it may sound crazy, but just watch Ancient Aliens. They're proving giants existed. They're proving hybrid genetics. They're proving a lot of the archaeological stuff that we can't build today. We can't emulate today because it's more advanced than we are. They're disproving official history, but they're saying it's aliens. Now, we know that there's no such thing as space. At least some of us do. Some of us are not on that yet, but if you study it, it bears out there's zero evidence for a globe, zero evidence for a globe. Just like there's zero evidence for a Holocaust. There's zero actual evidence that holds up. It's all images, it's all CGI, it's all people in spacesuits underwater or in zero-grav planes and constantly having drowning episodes or bubbles or harnesses or CGI glitches and hands disappearing and dropping things when there's supposedly no gravity. And I could go on and on and on. Many of you heard this before. But, just going through some of the evils, they have destroyed most of the great civilizations. They destroyed Hellenic Greece. They destroyed Rome in many ways. They are the actual children of Satan. I mean, the psyop is great because they have inverted everything that's in the Bible. but they are anti-biblical in their actual belief systems and in their actual lifestyle. I mean, the God who says, don't hurt babies, or you're going to have, it's worse for you to hurt a baby than it is for you to be thrown into the sea with a grindstone. I forget the term, a grindstone around your neck.
Millstone.
Then so a millstone. It's easier for you to be thrown into the sea with a millstone around you than it is, which is a drowning death, a horrible drowning death, than it would be for you to hurt one of these little ones. Versus the Jews that allow for child rape, child sexuality, bestiality, all these other sorts of horrible things, and have constantly been kicked out of countries for
not what that verse is about.
Child sacrifice rituals. I mean, they have always done this since before they were Jews. It's been following them since the days of the Canaanites, pre-flood, the age of Atlantis, then post-flood, the Canaanites, spreading out through all of these other nationalities, and all the ones that the Bible says kill those tribes because they're giants, that basically from Canaan. And then they've basically been caught over and over throughout historical, empires and periods, and in the big ruins of child sacrifice temples, doing this stuff. And it's been throughout all of human history, but especially in the last 1,000 years or so, they've been kicked out of 109 countries after being found guilty in courts of law with monarchs involved of child sacrifice and rape and etc. And I mean, horrible, horrific stuff. For example, Saint Simon of Trent.
Okay, Adam, go ahead. If you have a response to that.
Take me 2 hours to reply to all of the disinformation and false stuff that he just said right there. Let's see. How far should I back up to? Okay. This is just like the most, all of Christianity is a controlled op, and this is like the most extreme version of that controlled op. It's like from QAnon to flat earth, which is Talmudic, by the way. The Talmud endorses that the earth is the center of the universe and that the earth is flat and that there's a firmament. This is all the Jewish cosmology. The pagans and the Greeks knew that the earth was a globe and that we circled around the sun long before them. So it's like you want everybody, you're selling the Talmudic Torah, Hebrew Torah view of the world. And to say like, oh, Obadiah says that they're going to be destroyed in the end. Like you're such like, of all the Christians, no Christians think that. Yet when you go look at all the Jews, they almost all think this and know this and have the power and the influence and the connections and are not getting censored and are carrying out their agenda and have all of the momentum, and they're carrying this out.
I know.
And
they believe it.
Of course they believe it, and they're doing it, and they're in the positions to do this. So you can say they're not real Christians, but they're the vast majority of Christians. There is no real Christian, so there is no real or wrong Christian. If 99% of the Christians are doing this one thing or have this one view, that's de facto Christianity. They're the one with the power and the influence and the money. According to Christianity, you're the heretic. You're the anti-Semite. You're the one that's censored and has no influence, and this is a dead end, and it's going nowhere, and it's only stopping people from resisting the Torah, Moshiach, God of Zion and Israel, deception.
Let God be the truth and every man a liar. I know what's going to happen because the Bible is real. The prophecies are 100% accurate, which is what really convinced me which God was real. After I realized that there is zero evidence to hold up a globe, man. I know you haven't looked into it because there's zero evidence.
No, I definitely, I have looked into it, and it's absurd.
They teach I thought it was too. I thought it was the dumbest thing ever because it was a distraction from actual news that I was reporting on, like election fraud, vaccine deaths, and child trafficking. Actual news.
He talked for like 10 minutes. I don't want to.
It's supposed to be
going into a flat earth spiel. It's my time to respond still. He mentioned a ton of stuff. So, to say that the white people are really the Israelites. At what point did the Israelites just go up to Europe? Number one, this is genetically ridiculous. We don't share DNA close with people from the Middle East from just 3,000 years ago. It's absurd when the rabbis say that they come from Jacob and we come from Esau, and it's absurd when you say it. It's genetically ridiculous, and there's no history of it either. Like so the Israelites are really the white people, and then the Assyrians came, and are you? Okay. And then really they went down into Judah, or they just assimilated in, but they didn't just migrate all the way up to Europe. The people in Europe, white people with blonde hair and blue eyes, have been evolving there for tens of thousands of years. They're not, they didn't just come there a couple thousand years ago when the Assyrians took out the 10 tribes of the north, if that's even really true, because the whole tribes could be a fictional Hebrew story based on astrology.
Are you trying to share, Adam, real quick, just in case you...
No, that's him sharing.
Okay,
that's him sharing. He's not even listening. He's not even listening to what I'm saying. So at what point did all of these chosen people, these Israelites, just stop knowing that they were chosen and stop telling their kids, circumcising their kids, and knowing Hebrew? And so they were writing all these Old Testament books, the ancient Israelites, white people supposedly. Then they go up to the north and there's just nothing like, hey, we came from this area and we're the real chosen people. Nothing like that. This is just a complete baseless theory. And it's really just a desperate people that are desperate to be chosen. Everybody wants to have the birthright and be the chosen people. I think it's really quite sad to even want to adopt and appropriate their chosenness and their supremacy and their anti all the other nations of the world. Everything that I condemn and expose rabbis and Judaism for, you're saying it's all good. It's got your kosher stamp of approval, except it's just you want to rule over them. This is a complete dead end distraction, and it's going nowhere. It's only harming and is counterproductive. I'll leave it there for now.
Comments on that one? You can go back and forth if you want for a couple minutes.
Okay, so I disagree. Here's a depiction of actual ancient Israelites. They're white guys. Notice the noses. I'll try to zoom in here a little bit. Boom. This is just one example.
Esau's red. Why has he got red hair when Esau is supposed to be red?
Esau was Hebrew and an Israelite.
But the Edomites are supposedly the descendants of Esau.
They are mixed with the demonic giant remnant seed of the serpent, Hittites and Canaanites, which used to have elongated skulls, double rows of teeth, 30 feet tall, 6 fingers and toes on each hand, and eat us for fun because they ruled over us like tyrant god kings. And that's basically...
really believe all this stuff, dude? Seriously?
Yeah, absolutely.
You really do?
Which one you want to debate?
You've just been a Christian a few years. I feel like you've just gone off the deep end into like the Christian identity conspiracy rabbit hole.
Let's put it this way. I sure didn't choose to throw away my career and my reputation and become a raging anti-Semite calling Jews demons who rule over us. And also I look like an idiot who's going off the deep end. No, these things are actually what hold up if you test it. And no other Christians out there who are speaking against this know what they're talking about. It's that simple. And I'm winning the debates against rabbis who think that they're the chosen people. I'm winning debates against scientists who think that the world is a globe. So
you're fighting over rabbis on who is the real chosen people and who's the real Messiah, but you don't realize how you're just like two sides of the same kosher shekel.
No,
fighting over who the king of the Jews is.
Here's how I see it. How much time do you want to give me to answer this? And what is your question specifically? I don't want to rant.
Oh, what was my question?
Also, for example,
the enmity between their seed and they will grab your heel, bash their head. That's their verse, their Kabbalistic verse about us being the seed of Satan. They believe this they're the authors of all of these things. They're the originators. They're the ones with the secrets. They're the ones that have the upper hand today. None of this is a coincidence. They're the ones that are going to win if you play in their kosher Abrahamic paradigm, which is what you're doing. You're afraid.
So here's genetic evidence shows that actual ancient Israelites were blue-eyed. And genetic evidence shows that 97% of the 17 million of the world's Jews are not actual descendants of Abraham. When you get into the actual evidence, they have
there's probably no Abraham. So, and how would you even know that? Who's the descendant of Abraham? What they do know genetically is that even Ashkenazi and Sephardim share a lot of DNA with each other and also have a lot of DNA with other people from the Middle East as well. Not connected to us. Our DNA is from Northwestern Europe. We evolved over tens of thousands of years. We didn't just split up 2,000 years ago.
Yes, and this gets to a very, very important secret for people who want to understand the biblical part of the seed war. You can look at these verses, and this is how we get the actual Talmudic Jews, seed of the serpent. However, there is something called the seed war. They're out to kill us. They are actual demons. They control pretty much the whole world, and this is what their skulls used to look like. These were real skulls. We have the genetic evidence from these things. We have these things all over the world, almost as common as dinosaurs, but they keep getting covered up.
Yeah, where in the Bible does it say anything about people with long skulls?
Genesis 6 and about 100 other places.
What does it say? So
For
they have
example,
long skulls or just giants?
it says that they ate us, just like the Jews have been kicked out of 109 countries.
So those big old domes are just so they can eat us? Saying they eat us isn't the same as having a big head.
It said they were. I'm telling you some of the more prevalent parts.
The Jews calling people giants was probably tiny little Seinfelds calling people like me giants because we're tall, like 6'7", 6'5", compared to 5-foot people. You'll call them giants.
We have 30-foot skeletons on record.
Where's the good evidence for that of these skeletons? Some Smithsonian conspiracy from some conspiracy website?
Do you want to go into it? We could if it's
not really. Kazaria's disinfo. Kazaria's kosher disinfo. In fact,
no, it's not.
13th Tribe, written by Arthur Kessler, that really promoted this. He did it to stop anti-Semitism, to say we're not Jews, we didn't kill Jesus, we're Caucasians too, we're actually white like you. Arthur Kessler was a Zionist that worked for top Zionist in Israel, Jabotinsky.
I'm not quoting Arthur Kessler.
All of the kosher QAnon people that say the Nazis are secretly in charge and that all worship Jesus, they all promote Khazarian. Literally Jews all over QAnon promoting Khazaria because it takes the spotlight off of Torah Judaism and the chosen people conspiracy.
Never trust a Jew. In fact, Khazaria on old maps was called the land of Magog, which is mentioned in end times prophecy in the war of Gog and Magog, when they come to take over us and they'll lend to us and they'll rise up from within and they'll take over our nations and they'll basically do what the Jews did to us since the Hollow Hoax. Khazaria was a real place. You can look into it. They tried to delete it. Yeah. They don't teach it in the history school, in obviously high school or anything like that. Do
you not want this to stay up on YouTube? Because if you talk about that, Jeranism is going to put at risk his large sub counts.
Well,
do you not want people to see this? I want this to stay on YouTube, and this is going to get his channel banned or...
I'm admittedly not happy about all of the YouTube stuff. I got kicked off, and I'm not very good at it. So
Me too. I had 135,000 subs and got banned.
I'll try not to use any specific keywords.
What's the most you got up to? I'm curious.
Huh?
I've known of you for a few years.
2 years, and then they had frozen me at like 130 for over a year or something, and then they just wouldn't let me get any followers, and I was right there with you.
I was throttled and flatlined a lot too.
But basically, this seed war has been going on. All the evidence is for it. My BitChute's kind of fucked up.
And this is exactly what all the rabbis believe, but they're actually the ones with the power that are carrying this out.
Well, they have inverted things, and they're following their agenda, which is to poison and kill us. But they just switch words. That's all they do. Everything else doesn't make sense and line up. They say that they're Israelites, but they're not. They don't match any of the actual descriptions of Israelites. And they say that we're Amalek and Edom, but that's who used to run their country. That's who is on their old flag where they came from. And they do all of the things that those people did in the Bible.
What are you talking about? Amalek on their flag? What do you mean by that?
I'm talking about like the land of Magog. The old Khazaria on old maps was called the land of Magog. Did you see that? I'll scroll back up.
Well, I know they think Gog and Magog is Russia. So
this is Khazaria, an old map of Khazaria. It's not a particularly good one. You can confirm this for yourselves. But Khazaria is disinfo. That's people that's Christians come up with Khazaria because they want to say, oh, they're not the. You can't even understand what's happening in Ukraine right now without understanding what happened with Khazaria. Ukrainian Rus kicked them
and
out.
I don't believe that any of the Khazaria disinfo.
No, the Ukrainian Rus kicked them out of Khazaria, which is around Mount Seir, which is where the Edomites were and where they mixed with giants. And then now they want revenge on Ukraine. And it all goes back to the same history. This is what started their so-called long wandering, where they got kicked out of 109 countries for eating Christian babies.
Okay, let's go back to
out of Khazaria.
Let's go back to the claims. I think you made yours. Adam, go ahead and make a claim.
It's my turn. No, I didn't make. I
said this is your turn.
I want to respond to him in the synagogue of Satan stuff that he showed me because this is important.
Okay, you got 2 minutes. Make it.
I got to share.
Compact.
Well, I won't need a whole 2 minutes. We can do back and forth, but I just want to talk about what I want to talk about.
We'll start out the claim. Make the claim first.
Okay. All right. So all of the Christian anti-Semites love to cite this thing. Mind you, this is Revelation is an apocalyptic Jewish text. And this, here, we're going to go to this one first. Oops. So Revelation 2:9. You look at 2:8. This is addressed to the church in Smyrna. So it's a church. It says, I know your afflictions of your poverty, yet you are rich. I know about the slander of those who say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Do not be afraid of what you are about to suffer, like the Jews suffered in exile. I tell you, the devil will put some of you in prison to test you. They see Jesus as playing the role of their adversary, of Satan, who tempts them and then accuses them of sin. He tempts them to idol worship, consuming foods worship to idol, like it says here in a second, and to not follow the commandments, not keep kosher, not circumcise. It's a test. That's the test of while they're in exile in Edom. And then it says, and you will suffer persecution for 10 days, like the Jews have been persecuted, not the Christians, according to the last 2,000 years of everybody. Be faithful even to the point of death, and I will give you your life as your victor's crown. Those are the words of him who has the sharp double-edged sword. I know where you live, where Satan has his throne. They think that is Christianity, the city of blood that consumes blood, which is in violation of their commandments. Nevertheless, I have a few things against you. There are some among you who you hold to the teaching of Balaam. In the Talmud, that's when they're talking about Jesus. They're talking about linking it to him. Balaam is the one that had the prophecy, the star prophecy about the Messiah that conquers the world also. And what do? They entice the Israelites to sin. This is what they accuse Jesus of in the Talmud. It's in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Balaam or Satan cast a net to ensnare the Israelites to tempt them into consuming blood. This is what Christianity is. It's the counterpart, antithetical, antithesis religion that is their mirror opposite. And then it talks about food sacrifice to idols. Paul even talks about that, food sacrifice to idols. That's what they were fighting about, because he says that you don't need to keep kosher and all foods are okay. So look at this, what it says, though. Those who say they are Jews and are not. I thought you said the Jews are the bad guys. So now the Jews are the good guys, and it's only the fake pretend Jews that you have the problem with. Do you see the problem there?
Can I respond, Adam?
Yes, but just very clearly for the audience, do people understand that when it says they say they are Jews, but they're not? So the Jews are good, and that it's only the fake Jews that are the problem. Okay, it doesn't say they. Hold on. It doesn't say they say they are Hebrew Israelites and are not, and they are really Esau. It says this, and it's literally cryptically talking about Christianity and the church and the religion of Esau, the evil twin religion. Go ahead.
You're reading an edited copy. Remember, the whole point I've been making the whole time, and the only evidence that you brought the whole time was the Bible, which you don't.
Where's the copy? Where's the translation that says something different that proves me wrong?
I just told you it's easy to confirm and to test that
What translation? What translation?
Dead Sea Scrolls, for example, original actual translations of the Bible, which you can find. Some of the translations that survive, not the originals, of course, which is actually beneficial to our claim, not harmful. But you can still find some of those original manuscripts, and you can do the actual homework to test this for yourself. The word Jew did not appear in original Bibles. They injected it, and they took God's name out. They hate God. That's why they did this. And you can't just use the Bible the whole time and say Jew, 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 which was all changed words as evidence, because you've presented no actual evidence.
It's such a cope, and it's not. It said Yehudi
using
and
the Bible
Yehudim,
to
Jews.
try to debunk the Bible the whole time.
It's semantics. And here, to finish off the Revelation 3:9 too, because you hear this all the time, and it's literally out of context in the actual inversion, and reveals the deception. Behold, I will make them a synagogue of Satan, which say they are Jews and are not, but do lie. So the Jews are good, and it's only the pretend Jews again. But listen, here's the important part that nobody ever reads.
Let me try it. Can I address that part?
Okay, address that, but this is the important part that nobody ever reads.
When you're ready.
I will make them come and worship before thy feet, and to know that I have loved these. That is talking about the Christians will be Noahides, and Esau will repent and then grab the Jews by their teat and then say, we heard God is with you, like Zechariah, and then follow them. That's what it's talking about. I will make them, the Christians and the Gentiles, worship before thy feet, the Jews' feet. That's what this is actually about.
No, brother. Can I respond?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you scroll back up a little bit, you were talking about where the seat of Satan dwells. In that time period, that would be Turkey, and that's where the Sephardic Jews, the Khazarians' cousins, fellow Idumean Edomites, existed. They invited their Khazarian buddies and cousins into the Old Testament people con as soon as they could. And that's kind of how they basically reunited over historical periods. Same bloodline, same tribe, same noses, same lifestyle and culture, and same sort of bloody sacrifice habits. And you can look into, for example, what the Romans found when they overcome the Carthaginians. That was a Phoenician, Edomite, Jewish-controlled semi-capital right there. And they found things that turned even their stomachs. But in essence, No, that was not about that. Can you share the verse again, if you don't mind? It was not
Romans
about what you
3:9 or 2:9.
Well, basically, the Jews who claim they are Jews and are not Jews. I mean, we actually
Okay, well, they both say that, yeah.
So basically, it's giving you a warning right there, and it doesn't say the Jews who claim they're Jews. It said the Israelites who claim they're Israelites. But this is a very flexible term, because if I were to say the Americans that said they're Americans and are not, or the Europeans who said they are Europeans and are not, or the Germans who said they are Germans and are not, or the Polish who said they are Polish and are not, or the Russians who said they are Russians and are not, a lot of people historically are going to understand what the hell I'm talking about. And that's exactly what they are. They are the people who say they are and are not. They're the name stealers, which is the point I've been making the entire time. God warned you about them right there in those pages, brother.
Okay, you can
No,
go.
he's not. All those pages are about conquering the Gentiles for the chosen people, including Paul,
Inversion.
the foundation of the New Testament in Christianity.
Inversion. You push their inversion.
No, you're inverting and mirroring their madness so that you're not exposing their madness, and you're distracting people from the core issue. That's how I see it. So what translation does it say Israelites? They say they're Israelites, but they're not, because I don't see that anywhere. I'm looking through all of them right now.
A lot of the traditional atheists, or especially new atheist arguments, would be that a lot of these prophecies are fake and they just wrote them later, and it just looks really good because, historically that makes sense, but it was written after the fact, not before the fact. But the Dead Sea Scrolls blow all of that crap right out of the water. It proves that these things were original and they were divine and they were inspired.
No, the Dead Sea Scrolls prove that Christianity wasn't original, that it evolved and developed out of these same motifs and ideas as that are in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Things are not unique to Jesus and Christianity. They actually prefigure them in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Very likely that Paul was aware of the Dead Sea Scrolls and used a lot of their ideas.
It proves the prophecies were there beforehand, for example, with David and others. And also it proves the age. Now, a lot of people say that Christianity was based off paganism, and no, that's not the case at all. In fact, there are Thracian manuscripts that are pre-Sumerian that actually do reference Eden and the one God. Christianity was basically the original religion of mankind, and then it was perverted by the fallen angels' giant offspring, which basically ruled over us and enslaved us, which led to the flood, Genesis 6, because all flesh was corrupted. And then in the post-flood world, God's people were told to leave nothing alive of the Jews, and they did not do it. They failed, and therefore these things survived. They spread around the world, and we have a deep state that sacrifices and eats babies and puts that crap in our schools and education and movies and entertainment and video games and everything else. Now, there is a culture war. There's a sin war, and they're evil. They're satanic. They're Talmudic, but they're not Torah, and they don't keep the morals or the doctrines of Torah. And if you test the doctrines or the spirits, you'll know them pretty quickly. If you test their holidays, they're anti-Christian in the way that they express them often. For example, their Purim holiday, I mean, their favorite thing to dress up as, I'm sure you know this, on Purim is the Twin Towers in Israel.
The reason, this just since you mentioned Purim, they say blot out his name for Haman. He's the king of the Amalekites in the Purim story, and that's why they say the same thing about Jesus. They use the same Septuagint word in the book of Esther for his hanging as they use for Jesus's hanging as well, or crucifixion. He is the new Haman. He is the new Amalek, Esau, satanic leader of satanic Rome. This is what they've always believed. This is why they targeted Rome with Christianity, and they're carrying this out. You even admit the vast majority of Christians are satanic. The Pope wears a small hat and is satanic. So they're playing the role perfectly of the adversary Messiah. He's the villain in their story that becomes the hero and is becoming Judaized and is turning in a Noahide compliant anti-Roman type of Jewish Jesus. This is
they're trying to outlaw him and kill everybody that follows him, and they've been doing that.
No, they don't want him for Jews. He's bad for Jews, but he's good for the Gentiles.
No, they want to outlaw him.
He's meant to conquer the Gentiles. They're proud of it. That's where they're getting Noahides is from Christians.
But it outlaws. No, Noahide has nothing to do with Noah. It's just Jewish propaganda. But it outlaws.
They literally cite some of the Noahide laws in Acts when James tells Peter. Tells Paul to go to the Gentiles to teach them
their
Noahides.
Worldview. No, you're not even allowed to be a Christian in their Noahide law worldview, New World Order. Like, it will behead you for idolatry. You just
can't believe in the Trinity. You can't be anti-Semitic and you can't believe in the Trinity. That's the big problem they have was the Trinity.
Idolatry gets you beheaded.
Trinity idolatry, saying a man is God. Yes. And they Jesus added that in
God,
so that Jews would not be idolatrous. It's the temptation to idolatry.
Christians claim that Jesus is God, so there's going to be a little bit of a problem here.
Right. That's the problem.
They're
That's
going
the
to
big
outlaw
difference.
and kill Christians, not embrace it as something useful to them, which destroys their entire cultural outlook and desire to like sexualize children and all this.
And even the New Testament says they'll be flogged in the synagogues. They'll be beheaded for the testimony of Jesus. And you think that's a win for the Christians to be beheaded for believing Jesus is God?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Listen, Romans 9, if anybody just wants to know about how clear it is, if you think Saul the Pharisee is legitimate and has authority, just read Romans 9 and Romans 11. And it is so clear that only a remnant of Israel will be saved. That means only a little bit of the Jews will believe in Jesus, but that means they're Israel. He doesn't say they're secretly Edom. He says they're Israel.
He said, where I go, you cannot follow to them. They are demons. They're not allowed in. I want to address a specific historical example of why Christianity and Judaism don't go well together, and why they hate Christianity and want it outlawed.
They're opposition, but it's controlled opposition, because they worship the Torah Messiah like they always wanted. They believe the Torah is the word of God. They worship the God that chose the Jews. So it's opposition, but it's controlled. It's limited.
We took away their slaves.
It's in the Abrahamic paradigm.
We took away
false
slaves.
Dichotomy. Yeah.
For example, so the Western world Christians, William Wilberforce largely led the charge, ended slavery. We took away the slaves that were 80-90% Jewish slave dominated and slave ship dominated. They were the
Torah
owners,
commands slavery,
traders.
so we're not following the Torah, I guess.
They were the owners, they were the traders, they were the shippers, they were the industry of slavery, and we stopped them. We took away their slaves. That's just
but
one
you
example.
Want Esau to be your slave, though. You're Jacob. And the elder shall serve the younger, so you want Esau to serve you. So you still believe in slavery.
Now tens of millions of Christians are standing up to them in schools because of what they're trying to do in the schools with transgenderism, which is straight out of the Talmud. Christianity and Talmud are constantly butting heads.
Christianity is becoming more woke and progressive and LGBTQ and Zionist and Noahide by the day, my friend. Are you not watching what's going on? Do you not see all our politicians? Do you not see all of our leaders going to the wall and bowing down? And you're going to deny that Christianity is a kosher psyop?
No, it's
when all that's happening,
which is exactly what the Bible says. That's why only a remnant survive, and that's why I'm here to try to wake up that remnant.
Okay, let's go to your second claim.
That's talking about a remnant of the Jews. A remnant of who?
Israelites.
Of Israel.
They changed the word. I'm telling you, they changed the word.
Okay, listen. Like I said, Romans 9 and 11. This is so crucial. Every other verse in this book here discredits what you're saying. Okay, it says Paul says he has
the Bible, which they changed the word Judaism.
I'm using your own book, which is all Hebrew fairy tales, to disprove your own argument. Look, it says Paul says he has great sorrow. Explain me this. He says the people of Israel, not Edom, theirs is the adoption to sonship. He's talking about the Jews. There's the divine glory, the covenants, the receiving of the law, the temple worship, and the promises. Theirs are the patriarchs, and from them is traced the human ancestry of the Messiah, who is God over all forever. Praise. He says, for not all who are descended from Israel are Israel, saying that the Gentiles also can be Israel. It is not the children of the physical descent who are God's children, but it is the children of the promise who regarded as Abraham's offspring. Talking about the Gentiles being grafted in. And then he even says, the older will serve the younger. Jacob I love, but Esau I hated. He's talking about the Gentiles are Esau. He doesn't call the Jews Esau. The Gentiles are Esau.
No, he's not.
Hold on, look. And then he goes verse after verse from Isaiah. Yeah, he does. Look. Esau, Jacob I love, but Esau I hated. Not every descendant of Abraham is chosen, i.e., the Gentiles could also be adopted into Abraham by their faith. Paul's extension, not every Gentile is rejected. He's likening the Gentiles to Esau. And not to mention, Jesus said he came from the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Paul says that the Jews are Israel and chosen and are the prophets of God. And Jesus compares the Samaritan, the Gentiles, to getting crumbs, the sloppy seconds, just because we have faith. And then Romans 11.
That was it. He was speaking to a Jewish woman.
No, he's speaking to a Samaritan woman.
No. Yes. Are you talking about the woman who begged for her daughter to be
Samaritan woman.
She was an Edomite.
No, you're confused. Samaritan. Hold on. Romans 11. Look at this. This kills what you say right here. The debate over. Did God reject his people, the Jews? By no means. I am an Israelite myself and a descendant of Abraham from the tribe of Benjamin. God did not reject his people whom he foreknew. Paul is saying that the Jews are not rejected by God and they are his people. That means the Jews are the Israelites.
Oh, he says right there,
Case
Israelites
closed.
are God's people, not Jews.
He's talking about the Jews here, though.
Now, Jews are one of
Yes.
12 tribes, supposedly according to their lies. Now, the Israelites are the other tribes as well. And he's saying Israel. It says right there in front of you, Israel. Now, they didn't change everywhere
No.
because it wouldn't have made sense.
You're
Jew-
saying that the Edomites rejected Jesus, and Paul says the people of Israel, the elect among them, did believe in Jesus,
Oh.
but the others were hardened. And then he cites a prophecy about how the Jews are supposed to reject their Messiah. They reject their Messiah to reverse psychology, trick
Most
the Gentiles into following this Messiah.
Most white people rejected Jesus throughout history.
No, they targeted it's spread across the Western world, conquered
Yeah.
the Western world for the God of Israel and the King of the Jews, and the Jews are very happy about this. They say their prophecies couldn't be fulfilled if not for Christianity and Islam.
The world, the world was a world of pretty much like the Zeuses of the world, sacrificing children in the open, Saturnalia blood sacrifice events, Easter blood sacrifice events. All these things happened until Jesus came and ended all that stuff and drove it underground. And then pretty much for the last 2,000
Ended
years.
it, but he didn't end it. He
wanted
drove
to
it
leave
underground,
the
and now
world.
Satan and the Jews still rule the world. And
If
Jesus
you wanted
is
to
waiting
leave,
up in
let me
heaven
finish.
to come down and save
Let me
us in the
finish.
end. Trust
And
the plan. Hey,
let me
trust the
finish.
plan, Dustin.
Let me finish. And
Jesus,
if you want,
Yeshua's going to save us.
and if
The
you
Jews
wanted,
told us so.
and let me finish, man. And if you want to, I forget where it's even at now. I mean,
Sorry, that was just too crucial. Trust the plan. The
Okay.
Jews told us we're going to win in the end.
Do you guys need
Uh,
a Do you guys need a break? Or are you okay?
So basically,
Wait, hold on, time out, Dustin. I want to move on to the next claim as long as you guys are good to go, or do you need a break?
Basically, his whole argument is to accept that where the word was changed, that it all means them, and it doesn't. It doesn't mean any of it. None of it actually means them. It all was changed. You can look at it was edited, and that's it. And that's his whole argument.
Why are you so desperate to be a chosen person? Like
wasn't.
you,
I was
in
an
my
atheist
view,
like
you're
you my
just
whole
like
life,
the
brother.
rabbis. You want me to bow
I was
down
an
to your
atheist.
Messiah. You think that you're chosen by God.
I was an atheist my whole life. I had no dog in this fight.
Well,
I was actually anti-theist. I've never lost a debate against religious people. I'm ashamed to say.
well, I hope your tithes are good from all the Christians.
No,
Okay.
I've lost 6 figures a month because I've been telling the truth.
Yeah, I've lost a lot as
Wow.
well too for exposing the Jesus deception. Here's one more, my final point, and then he
Jews
can
must love that because they hate Jesus. Man.
No, they don't. They hate him, but they love the fact that the Gentiles
You're
follow him because that
reinforcing
was the
their
plan all
biggest
along.
lie, though. And when you see it, you're going to be like, "Oh no!"
I've got a whole video about how they really actually love Jesus and what he did.
I have a whole
They-
300-hour documentary series about how they're not.
300 hour. Okay, you can see the screen, right? Again, what
Sorry, yes, I can.
proof that the Jews are supposedly the Israelites. Okay, he
That's
says
4 hours.
you're do not talking to the Christians. Paul says, do not consider yourself to be superior to those other branches. If you do, consider this: you do not support the root, but the root supports you. Saying the Jews support you Christians is what.
No,
he's
this is saying if you're Asian or Hispanic or some other race that you're grafted in, it doesn't mean you're better than the white Christians who've been letting God down constantly because they basically failed him constantly. And that's why they were punished. That's why they forgot. That's why they finally got America and the UK and all those other European nations exactly according to prophecy, if you do the math. Because God's prophecies are 100% accurate. Only religion that can claim it. That's why I'm a Christian and not a Buddhist. Because when I found out God was real, I looked into them and I found out this is the only one that has legitimate miracles and prophecies in the Bible. And it's the only one that history.
what prophecies?
super
What's the
accurate.
biggest prophecy that's fulfilled?
So a popular one that you referenced earlier, for example, you said was debunked, but isn't, is the prophecies of Daniel. There's a number of them, but they're super accurate when it comes to history. And people atheists like to claim that it happened and then it was written, but it didn't. It was written and then it happened. And it was actually written in such a blind way that he had no idea what he was talking about. And then it happened in such specific accuracy that it alarms people even today. And scholars have no way of explaining it. And they
No,
all
we do
just
have a
to
way
write
of
it off.
explaining it.
all have
They
to
made
write it
up
off
a
and
story
say,
to fulfill the prophecies. That's the simple Occam's razor
make
explanation
up
that
those
doesn't
historical
require any
events.
magical Jews. You believe
They made
Jews
up the
have
fall of
magical
Rome?
prophetic powers. I
They
don't.
made
That's
up
the
the
big
fall
difference.
of Rome. I mean, they made up the fall of Rome and Greece.
No, they helped
They made
facilitate
that
it, but through Christianity.
No, they prophesied each of those things in high detail, specifically before time and hundreds of years advanced. Every time the prophecies are real. hundreds of years, thousands of years.
They believe that America is Rome and we're about to be destroyed. Yeah, they do.
In some cases, they bought into the lie, but in their own circles, they teach that they're Edom. They teach
they don't, dude. There's no proof of that, and it's absolutely asinine to think that they secretly believe that they're Edom.
That a bunch of others about it. There's tons of proof.
They think we're Edom. They think we're satanic, and they want us to be destroyed in the end times. That's what they really do believe.
They teach that openly.
That's bad enough. That should be enough.
We
should expose them for that, but you won't do it.
Okay, this time
openly because if they said they were Edomites, everybody would reject them, which they used to do. They had a bad reputation, so they name changed again, the name sealers, just like they do every time they come into a country.
Okay, let's take a pause real quick. We're gonna take a pause. When we come back, you're gonna each get one more claim and then a rebuttal of that claim. So think of that while we take a little break, and then we'll give you your conclusion, and we'll do super chats if there's any. I haven't checked yet, but so think of one more claim that you're gonna make. Have evidence to back it. You have about 2 minutes to make it, and I think Dustin, you're up first. So think of that. If you need time, let me know, or if you're ready to go, and then this is not your conclusion. You'll still get a 3-minute conclusion at the end, but this is a claim you're going to make, and then you have to have some evidence to back it. And you've got 2 minutes whenever you're ready to start.
Okay. If you're cool with a short break, I'll just step out and use the restroom.
Sure.
Quick,
yeah. Everybody can go use the restroom real quick.
Do you have to go super bad? I'd rather just do.
Okay, let's just
8 more minutes and then close it out.
Okay, let's just close it. So make sure, go ahead. You have 2 minutes, make a claim, back it with evidence. Adam, be quiet for 2 minutes. Thank you. Go.
Okay, so I know that this is kind of a fringe thing. It was, however, a taught doctrine in even ancient Christian circles. There's even an ancient Celtic church poem, for example, that taught two-seed line theory, where we can reference historically. And a lot of people say Cain was the seed of the serpent. There's some debate about where it comes from. I win those arguments. It's Genesis 6, fallen angels. And this ties right into the same. If you've, for example, seen any of the TV shows like Ancient Aliens or the Giant stuff on History Channel, they show you the evidence as they do a very convincing job, but then they sort of misdirect it and tell you it's aliens and they were our creators. This new theory of panspermia, which is quickly trying to replace evolution because evolution is easily debunked. There are no missing links, just like there's zero evidence for globe, zero evidence that the Jews are the Israelites, for example. They say they are, and they put the word in the books. And those are the books that you can buy at the bookstore down the road. But that's not the actual story. The actual original manuscripts, which are 100% accurate, in the most accurate history book, even with the deceptions put in, by the way. But the actual original manuscripts didn't say Jew. And even if they were Judahites, which they're not of the family of Judah. They claim to be Ashkenazi, which is not even Semitic. It's Japhetic. So they didn't even get the details right. The whole story falls apart when you actually examine it, especially if you're a Christian, you believe in prophecy and you test their fulfillment of it. They didn't fulfill any of it. And one tribe, one race of people did fulfill all of it. I'm certainly not a white supremacist. I have a mixed family. I have an Asian wife and mixed children. I'm not trying to say anyone's better than anyone else. God's people have let him down. I'm just saying this is history. I didn't have any animosity against the Jews before this started. I just researched and found these things, and turns out they are behind all of the evils and pretty much have been throughout all of history. And I wasn't bent on a particular doctrinal interpretation or anything like that. I was an atheist my whole life. I came to this, and I now have my own doctrine, apparently, because there is no church that teaches these things. There are a few scattered voices in the wilderness that have been teaching this for a long time. But for the most part, the mainstream don't understand. They're being completely deceived, just like fake news, fake science, and fake theology. That's all it is. It's all equally fragile. It all falls apart equally easy when tested. So in terms of...
Can you make that into one sentence for a claim? Can you? Yeah, in
terms of claims, I would just say test the things that I've said today. Go to thesarapayam.com, check out the evidence, and you'll be convinced. It's that simple.
Okay, Adam, do you have any rebuttal to that, or you want to go into your claim?
Test all things. Hold fast that which is...
You say that you're not a white supremacist, but if you say that white people are the true Israelites and that they're chosen by God and that they're Jacob and they have the birthright and that Esau's meant to serve them, and the scripture in the Old Testament says that the Jews are his chosen people and above all the other nations, like, I would say you're a wannabe Jewish supremacist. For years, I've been exposing Judaism and their supremacy and their anti-Gentile, anti-nation or Goyim sentiments that they have. and you just mimic and appropriate and adopt everything that they do. You're no difference between them. All of my criticisms towards them, I could also apply to you. And so you're just mirroring their madness. Instead of exposing them, you're mirroring their madness, giving them an excuse to say, oh, these anti-Semites, they say we're satanic, we worship the devil, and you're evil Esau, you want to have you're dehumanizing us, we're the seed of Satan. Instead of exposing them for saying that about us, you're doing it to them, and you have no influence, no power, and all the other churches will condemn you, and all of the rabbis believe this and it's going their way, and it's not surprising because they're the originators, they're the authors, they're the ones with the secrets. And okay, that's my response. Now, do I get to bring up my point and he responds?
Yep.
You want to reply to that, or you want to let him?
I just want to say that you can't accuse me of being basically shilling for Israel. I mean, I could say the same thing because you're reinforcing the greatest lie.
I didn't say you're shilling for Israel.
Well, you're saying that
you think you're the real Israel, so you are kind of shilling for Israel.
Well, you're basically.
I'm saying I don't give a damn about Israel. So how am I an Israel shill? I'm saying Israel is a big old deception, and I don't give a shit about Jerusalem or the God of Zion or a Messiah. I think it's all Hebrew fan fiction, supremacist manifesto.
Okay, but you're basically arguing that my position benefits the Jews, and it doesn't. It's actually the complete opposite. It's the greatest lie.
The anti-Semitism benefits them. It's very clear about that. They weaponize their victim status. So when you give them this easily refutable and discredited, and most people are very off-put if they hear you say they're the devil and they eat babies and they're the synagogue of Satan. They get sympathy and they think that Christians are just deranged, evil people. The villains.
109 found guilties is not defamation or blood libel.
That's 108 too many. Great job Christianity did. And also that's the verse too. Listen to the verse about Esau. The blessing to Esau is that you will live by the sword and you will serve your brother, which is what the Romans did, worshiping Jacob.
Well, that makes absolute sense.
And spreading the Torah with the sword, being the big empires with the power. And it says, but eventually they will throw off their yoke. And that's what those expulsions were. Esau throwing off the yoke of Jacob. That's what the expulsions are. It's part of the plan. The exile, the suffering, the atonement,
okay, Adam,
the victim status. It's all part of it.
Adam, Dustin, you get 1 minute to close this out. And then, Adam, we're going to go to your claim. But Dustin, go ahead. You have a minute.
Yeah, you're misreading the thing, and you're not in the context here because you're sort of taking the position that they've deceived the world with, that they're the Jews. They're not. In the situation, by the way, that you're referencing specifically for who shall receive the blessing, only one son can receive the blessing when you're a leader of a people. I mean, you're a very wealthy person. You're going to give that particular son the greater blessing in terms of inheritance, and also pass on the reins, so to speak, and leadership of the family and all that stuff, which you wouldn't want to give to the barbaric son who just married 2 Canaanite hoe bags and brought them home. Mama didn't like those chicks. And I forget, I'm a little Southern in that, but basically Esau's first sin, and maybe why God hated him, was that he mixed in the Israelite white DNA with the Jewish Edomite genetics of the Canaanites. He had 2 Canaanite wives, those seed of the serpent that would be playing a huge role all the way from Genesis 3:15 to the end times of Revelation, when they would be destroyed in Obadiah 18. It's the same story. It's the bloodline of Satan, the seed of the serpent, the actual inhuman hybrid genetics.
Okay, time.
That had these skulls.
Go ahead.
Again, last response, and then I want to have my closing claim. So you're not exposing Torah Judaism and the Abrahamic conspiracy or opposing the God of Yahweh, and you're saying it's all true, and that the only problem is that they are the fake Jews. It's not the Jews that are the problem. It's only the fake Jews, and you want to be the real Jew, the real Israel, the real chosen people. So it's just like I said,
everything in the Bible is actually accurate, except that where they change the word.
Okay, Adam, let's go to your claim.
Sorry. Everything's accurate, though.
Adam, you got 2 minutes to make a claim and back it with evidence.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we're still in Romans 11 now. It says, Paul says, I do not want you to be ignorant of the mystery, brothers and sisters, so that you may not be conceited. Israel, or the Jews, again, Paul calling the Jews Israel, not Edom, has experienced a hardening. And that's just according to the prophecies. They're not supposed to believe in this Messiah according to the plan. The rejection is part of the scripture, in part until the full number of the Gentiles has come in. And in this way, all of Israel will be saved. So once they convince all the Gentiles to be Christian, then Israel will be saved. And then he cites another verse like he always does, because that's where he learned about Jesus, from Isaiah, from the Psalms, from Zechariah and Daniel. As far as the gospel is concerned, the Jews are enemies for your sake. But as far as election is concerned, they are loved on account of the patriarchs. So they're your enemy, but they're still chosen, controlled opposition. For the God's gifts and his call to the Jews are irrevocable. Just as you were once at one time disobedient, have now received mercy as a result of their disobedience. So the Christians, Paul's saying, hey, Christians, you're so lucky that the Jews were disobedient, because now you're saved and you have mercy. They too now have become disobedient. And why have they become disobedient? In order that they too may now receive mercy as a result of God's mercy on you. It's all a big scam. And very clearly right here, what I want you to address, it's so clear from these verses, there's no other way you can read it, that he's saying the Jews are Israel and they're supposed to reject the Messiah, and this is all part of God's plan. And thanks to their disobedience, you are now saved. So, hey, thanks, Jews. Without the Jews sacrificing and rejecting their Messiah according to God's divine plan, you Christians would not be saved.
That's not what it says.
It is what it says.
And
that's what all Christians think of it, too, the vast majority. It doesn't really matter what it says. What really matters is what everybody's convinced it says.
All right, we'll go back up.
It's not what's true, it's what people believe. And then the scriptures are so flawed, or Christianity's so weak that all of Christianity believes that it's kosher.
Dustin,
so those verses were absolutely true, even if people don't believe it.
You got 2 minutes to respond to that, Adam. Mute.
I can't see the verses, but I'm happy to address those.
Oh, he can share again.
It's a mirror verse to the other one. The same thing. They were punished for their sins, and white people forgot who they were, and they were punished, and now they're coming out of it because the time's over. That's what the Bible. Every time the Israelites sin, basically God throws them to their enemies, and this time He also made them forget who they were. It's the same thing. The time of the Gentiles coming up. Gentiles is also a word that was mistranslated intentionally. It doesn't say they forget who they are. It says they're hardened and they're stumbling and they're in a stupor and they're blinded. Sister verse, you're hardened and stupid and stumbling now because you reject the flat biblical earth, which is the actual observable scientific method, and you reject Jesus, which is the historical consensus on both sides, whether you believe he was divine or not. You have this hatred for them that is anti-factual, and you reject the facts. You've only used the Bible to try to debunk it.
You haven't proved
you just changed the word Jew.
Adam, mute up for a second. Give him a minute 20. You got a minute 20. Keep going. Finish off. Dustin,
well, I mean, I don't mean that to be mean. I mean, I'm just saying that it's all accurate. The whole Bible's accurate. It's the most accurate book in the world, including the prophecies and the miracles, if you just change the words that they changed back, which takes a little bit of research. I've been doing some studies.
What's the best evidence of a fulfilled prophecy? You didn't answer that question.
Well, I gave you some examples of David as one that's a famous example. I would point to some of the others as more complicated. For example, like the three-headed eagle.
Like Daniel 9:25-26, where it says that the Son of Man will be cut off?
No, the ones that talks about the procession of nations and the processions of the emperors and empires.
Where it talks about conquering the Goyim?
No, where it talks about how the specific
dominion over the nations means dominion conquering the Goyim.
Where it predicts specific transitions of power with specific details in advance.
That's because Daniel is a forgery that was written after events already happened. It was written about 275 BC. There's a lot of scholarship.
We already talked about that. The Dead Sea Scrolls prove that that's not true at all. In fact, that it was
the Dead Sea Scrolls prove Christianity is not true, because there's the Melchizedek scroll 11Q13 that connects with the Messiah and the Melchizedek and the heavenly Redeemer figure, connects Daniel 24 and 25 or 25 and 26 to Isaiah, this suffering servant in Isaiah 52 and 53. It's a pesher.
A rejection here that you just don't want to accept certain facts. We don't want to.
We're going to get to conclusions now.
Fact? You're denying and coming up with copes about, that's not the same word, or the Bible's been mistranslated. That's not what it originally says. They stole our identity.
The Dead Sea Scrolls contain the book of Daniel. Fact that proves that it predates the actual fulfillment of those events. Fact that
they were doing the same thing.
It debunks your theory that it was made after the fact. It's complete evidence that you're wrong about that and you reject it. I wonder why.
The Dead Sea Scrolls prove that Christianity is not original, and Christianity evolved with the same ideas, the same messianic proof texts, tons of stuff. I've done videos on lots of videos on
Judaism. Judaism is an infiltration of Hebrewism and a diversion to the tradition of the elders as the greatest Jew namer ever, Jesus said.
The greatest namer ever. that said salvation is of the Jews?
Israelites.
No, he didn't say that. There's no translation that says Israelites. It says Jews.
Translations.
He's the king of the Jews. It's very, okay. I already demonstrated with the verses. We don't have to rehash this. I'm ready to close.
Okay, let's go to conclusions. If anybody wants to ask any questions, you can do so via super chat. We'll get to those right after the conclusions. You got 3 minutes, and you're going to go first, Dustin. And
I mean, I'm okay. I know we have some pretty advanced and fringe topics here, and I know that it's going to take some time to get into it, and we didn't have that tonight always. But I would suggest that people, like the Bible says, it's good logic actually from a debate perspective.
Well, I would say if we had you guys back, what I would ask you to do is come up with something, a clear claim that you're going to make, and back it with evidence. So, that's what my goal is here, is that, claim something and then back it with evidence and let the other person refute it. Today it was kind of
Jesus is a Jewish fiction, and I showed it the whole time. I couldn't
tonight
even
it's narrative.
Couldn't even cover it all fast enough. There was too
tonight
much.
It's just narrative. Test these things that I've said, and you'll see that the facts hold up for them. We didn't have the time, but tonight we mostly went into.
Are you ready to go to your conclusion? All right, we're starting your conclusion. Adam, please, for 3 minutes, mute up. Even if he says a bunch of stuff you don't agree with, you have 3 minutes after that to make that claim or state that. All right, Dustin, it's you. 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll be quick about it. I don't probably need 3 minutes. Basically, like I said, the Bible gives us good advice here. It says, test all things and hold fast that which is true. I think that's pretty good wisdom for anyone, even if you're an atheist. So test these things, even if they sound a little bit crazy, and they will actually hold up. They hold true. I would suggest that you look into the biblical earth. Jeranism has a great channel for that himself. I would suggest that you look into the true Hebrew Israelite origins. I've developed a great archive at theserapeum.com, basically collecting all the stuff that they've been censoring and rewriting. But the evidence is there, and you don't need me to show it to you. There's a lot of proofs that they took books out of the Bible. For example, if you don't believe me, the 1611 King James Version had about 20 more books in it than the modern King James Version. They've edited things. They took God's name out. They hate God. They refuse to say his name in those conditions, and they are anti-biblical people. So my basic point and premise is that if you test the things I've said, you'll find out they're actually inhuman demons, and they eat babies for fun during their 6 satanic parties, and they are the deep state. They're behind virtually every organized evil on earth. I know it sounds a little nutty, but I'm dying, and I'm beyond the point of caring what they do to me or what they say about me, and I've been defamed and all that anyway. So let them say what they want. Let them do what they want. The point is the truth. The story of the Bible is absolutely correct, although most people don't understand it. They're out of context, and I'm very saddened by the fact that so many of my brothers are going against the words of God and against the Son of God because they think that it is Jewish propaganda or Jewish mysticism or a Jewish invention, because they're right to hate evil. They're right to hate the Edomites, the Nephilim, the Jews, because they are evil and they're destroying us and they're doing horrible things in our culture and they're dominating us. They're poisoning us. The vaccine was a Jewish weapon. Fertility in Israel is not crashing. It's all the hollow hoax was just part of their red carpet into the West. And within 2 generations, look at what's happening in our schools and in our streets. They absolutely deserve the hate, but people are directing it toward the Father and the Son rather than the enemy. And I think that is out of context, and I want to bring the truth back. And that is the original Christian understanding that was taught in the time of Jesus, that was understood before the time of Jesus, that was left for us. God preserved his word in the Dead Sea Scrolls and other places that we can contextually compare. And we can actually, like a scholar, discern what was there originally, and we can see what it originally said was not Jew. So if you test it, wasn't the word Jew, and that pretty much destroys, with respect, Adam's entire premise tonight, which was all out of the Bible using the word Jew. It wasn't there originally. It's not actually a good argument. That's it.
Okay.
Oh, theserapeum.com evidence.
Okay, great. We'll get to questions if there's any for you after. Adam, you got 3 minutes. When you're ready, go ahead, start. And mute up if you could. Dustin, thanks.
Again, everything I said here is easily demonstrable with the scriptures, not any weird interpretations or out of context. This is the interpretations. This is what they believe. They wanted Torah Judaism, the God of Yahweh, his chosen people, their main goal was to eradicate pagan idol worship, which is just any other religion besides Yahwehism and his chosen people. And they were to do this with their Messiah, with their Moshiach. He would subdue the nations. He would make kings lick the dirt of his feet. He will rule in the land of thine enemies. Who was the enemies of the people waiting for the Messiah? It was the Romans. It was the Gentiles. They accomplished this. It was in the scriptures. They accomplished it. They're marching towards their end game with the Christians and the Muslims, the religions of Esau and Ishmael. Not a coincidence. Playing their roles. And so clearly, Paul in Romans 15 says, as Isaiah said, the root of Jesse, that's the branch of the Messiah, David, and he shall rise to reign over the Gentiles. In him shall the Gentiles trust. He's citing Isaiah 11:10, that the root of Jesse will stand for a banner to the people, and to it the Gentiles seek. They were reading their scriptures, looking for a way to be redeemed with their Messiah, and they decided on this midrashic, mythical, celestial, heavenly Redeemer, Moshiach ben Joseph, suffering Messiah, Son of Man, that's cut off, that they connect in all these other verses in Isaiah, Daniel, Zechariah. And this is the type of stuff that it says when you see, to him the Moshiach will the Goyim seek, all according to plan, all of the world being prepared for the Messianic age, prepared to being perfect Noahides, with Christianity and Islam as the stepping stones. Isaiah 11 in the Orthodox Jewish Bible. To the Moshiach will the Goyim seek. He shall raise up a banner for the Goyim, and Edom will be destroyed. Isaiah 11, 9, and 10. Oh, I'm sorry. Banner. These are all the same thing. Isaiah 49, this is what they're citing. He will beckon to the nations, lift up the banner to the peoples. They will bow down before you with their faces to the ground. They will lick the dust at your feet. Then you will know that I am the Lord. Those who hope in me will not be disappointed. That's all about conquering the non-Jewish world. That was the point of the Messiah. That's what he did. The top rabbis brag about it. Christianity is their greatest allies and supporters and enablers. It's all going according to their prophecies, which are self-fulfilling, orchestrating. They're trying to make them happening. They're manifesting by believing it, all according to the script, their blueprint for a one world government, Armageddon, pinning Islam and Christianity against each other, the destruction of Edom, which is Christendom and Western civilization. It is all unfolding right now. And I wish everybody, including Dustin, would research my videos, watch my Christianity deception playlist, the epic rabbi mixes, and focus on what's important and come back to reality and just help us expose Torah supremacy, the God of Israel, and his Zionist agenda, instead of participating it and contributing to it, which is what I think all Christians are doing, and especially Christians that think they're the real Jacob and chosen people.
All right, thanks, guys. I do appreciate you guys being here. We're going to look if there's any super chats or tips from Rockfin, but I wanted to... What happened here? Oh, you're looking through something. I'm just going to stop that.
Oh, sorry.
That's right.
See that.
So, thank you very much. So, and just to the YouTube censors or anybody else out there that's going to report this video, I believe fully in debate, okay? And I believe in free speech, and you should too. And that's how we weed out bad info. That's how we get closer to truths. And when you disallow people from speaking, they take that as evidence that what they're saying is true. Hopefully you guys realize that. So stop censoring people's speech, because people look at that and say, oh, they're censoring my speech. Guess what? What I'm saying is true. And that doesn't necessarily be the truth. So when people debate, which is central to the democracy, like we supposedly have, that's how you get closer to truth. Anything less than open discourse will always end in people thinking that there's governments that are tyrannical and that are shutting down free speech. So stop doing that. It's okay to have open discourse. Nobody here said anything about we should go do this or we should go do that. So we're fine. All right, let's go to the super chat, see if there's any. Let me look this up real quick. Okay, and where did it go? There we go. So thanks, guys, for being here. I appreciate it. Let's see if we got any. And scroll.
It was fun.
This.
Yeah, it was fun.
Hey, yeah, it's good times. And I thought there was some good info exchange, which is kind of the hope of everything. So,
hey, Dustin, you said there's no missing link?
Yeah.
In evolution?
Yeah.
Oh, damn, they're right there. Look, there's like 6 of them.
I love it.
We are primates, bro.
I love it.
We are primates.
You know, some of us may be descended from monkeys, but I'm not one of them.
You're not? All right.
Nope.
Evolution. You still are one.
All of those things in the middle are all fake and clay. They don't have any actual things in the middle.
Just little tiny adaptations, and you could see how it could easily happen. Much more plausible an explanation, and at least trying to find an explanation that isn't based on Hebrew fairy tales and Adam and Eve and talking snakes and magical poofing people out of ribs and out of dust and stuff. I mean, that's
spontaneous generation and irreducible complexity debunk evolution completely, and you can't have little changes into something big later, and you can't change from one kind.
What about unintelligent complexity?
It's a very intelligent design, and that's what science and every
tell that to my chiropractor. Tell that to the people with birth defects all over the world. Tell that to people with babies that get cancered about how perfect the design is.
Okay, we've got Billy Hicks says, thanks for everything you do. Questioning literally everything like you do is a trait of true wisdom. We've got John Grady says, why do you believe in a creator? I guess that would be for you, Dustin.
Okay.
1 minute on the answers, please.
Why do I believe in a creator? Because the world is flat. It's enclosed. There's no such thing as space. It's not moving. All of the evidence that there's no actual study that shows movement whatsoever, and all the studies have debunked movement. Foucault's pendulum is BS. They have to keep touching it or moving it in certain cases. So basically, they're out of evidence. Eratosthenes, all of it. Basically, it is all occult science, fake news science out of Rome. In fact, if you look into the research, Cardinal Wolsey came up with learning against learning was the strategy. It was papacy approved at the time. I forget which pope, and that basically became the invention of the state level propaganda of globe Earth. It was there before. It was just pushed by occultists and propagandists, not occultists and seancists, basically, like Newton and Kepler and others who were all obsessed with the occult. So basically, when you look into it, there are no actual facts to support a globe Earth. All the pictures are fake. It's all CGI. Everything that they do is actually worse. They fake space worse than Hollywood. In fact, they're constantly getting caught.
Okay, time. Thank you, Bill. We've got William Joseph HBC says, thanks for hosting the debate. We've got Litton25 says, good stuff. Thank you very much for that. We've got Charlie, $50. Thank you, Charlie. Says, Jaron, great topic for debate. Very much appreciated. Good panel. We've got Sacred Knowledge says, great debate. When's the next Speaker's Corner? That'll be Thursday at 3. Zach to the Future says, great debate. I love both Nemos and Adam Green videos. Both make thought-provoking content you can't get anywhere else. I would agree with that. That's a great assessment of these two guys. Geocentric Sense, love your work, Jaron. Thank you very much for the $5. And another one for $2. Adam, pagans worship the Anunnaki, who are the Nephilim. Adam, pagans worship the Anunnaki, who are the Nephilim. I don't know if that's a question or
pagan just means a derogatory term for anybody that has a religion or a deity that isn't the God of Israel. So they're not all the same. They're different from people all over the world. Completely different stuff. You can find little similarities with anything, but they're all the same guy. Pretty much every pagan religion is Nimrod. Babbled languages. If anything, they syncretically blended Jesus with some pagan ideas to make a idolatrous form of Judaism for the Goy.
Okay, we've got over at Rockfin Flat Earth Eric first. He says, this is a magnificent match of two serious men discussing an epic topic. Many thanks to all. Thank you for that, Eric. Another one. Best result, Nemos converts Green to Flat Earth, and Green converts Nemos to unchristian. Boom.
That'll make Jeranism happy, huh?
Oh, but yes.
What? That's backwards. No.
Rasco. It'll never happen. Here, let me respond to the Flat Earth because he got to answer a question and I wanted to respond real quick to it.
Adam, can you and I have a conversation though one day? Can you come on the show and let's talk about it? Doesn't have to be a debate, just a conversation. I know you think it's ridiculous.
I don't want to dunk on you too hard on your own channel.
Well, I don't mind that. I'm not afraid of that at all. Okay. So,
all right.
If that's your only reason, then you're coming on.
God creates a world, and then he's so inept that he allows Satan to just deceive everybody that it's actually really flat, and that's hiding. If your faith is so weak in God and there's so little evidence that you have to rely on flat Earth to believe in it, that's really sad also. But how would an all-loving, all-powerful God, how do you explain volcanoes erupting and killing people? How do you explain hurricanes and natural disasters and earthquakes where so many people die and suffer?
Let me see some earthquake.
You can create a flat Earth and create a world in a divine hand.
But it seems like you have a problem with
all of this chaos and disaster.
Okay, so you have a problem with the Christian God, and this is the problem I have with other people. If you have a problem with the Christian God, then don't depend on what they say God is to refute God. I mean, to me, if you do have a problem with Christians, then erase their idea of God and then find your own. That's what I've done, and is the Earth's flat? Well, when you test it, it is. I've seen evidence of it. I've never seen evidence of a globe. So we can have that conversation.
Most of the world is inhospitable to humans.
Agree.
Okay,
it's inescapable.
So, great divine plan. Then
who said there's a divine plan?
To have all of the water of the world be salt instead of water, so people dehydrate themselves to death. Again,
you're basing that off of some divine plan. It's like you're saying God has to be the Bible God, or there is no God. Well, I don't believe that. So
no, I don't think any God, unless he's just completely inept and incompetent, would make the type of Earth that we have right now.
Okay,
so I just think it's so precise. It's one of like a
they say it's like they have to do the multiverse because of the way this universe works and the way that we're able to live in it. That they have to say there's got to be a endless amount of universes, and we just happen to land in the one that works. All right, so we had more comments.
I agree with that. Possibly endless universes, and just this happens to be one.
Everything is possible except Yahweh in that scheme.
So
not anything is possible, but there could be infinite universe.
Anyway, if we have a conversation for 2 hours, you'll see that not everybody thinks the same thing about flat Earth. But anyway, thanks to all participants, to the supreme moderator. What? Keep the show going, and to all those that tune in, please tip the host. We've got Flat Earth Eric says, question: how does Nemos show the word changes he claims? Yes, I guess.
I have an article.
Yeah, I want to know where that's at too.
Okay, so it's at theserapeum.com. The article is called I'll find it in a second.
So if I went to Bible Hub and looked up Old Testament verses that say Jews, what are you saying that the Bible Hub would say that word is?
Did the Jews kill Jesus?
You look up Iodius for one, and you remember that there was a translation into Latin, basically, and the Romans had a Catholic pagan Christianity sort of monopoly where they were killing actual Christians for reading the Bible for hundreds of years. And they were persecuting actual Christians who won all the debates. They just show up and they debate them, and then they lose the debates. Like, for example, the Lollards, and then they show back up with soldiers and they just murder everybody and burn them at the stake with their Bible tied around their neck. Catholics were not Christians. They've never been Christians. It's paganism with Christian names. And Mother Mary is basically just a continuation of Semiramis, Nimrod's wife, which is, again, the Nimrod, Semiramis, Tammuz unholy trinity is every pagan religion on earth, in essence, with the babbled tongue. Same details. They all talk about basically cannibalistic man-eating giants and a man and his 3 sons surviving the flood and a bunch of other specific details. But it's told from the enemy's perspective. Those same giants that rule over us as God kings and are no longer with us. Basically,
they're just midgets with small hats now.
Pretty much. It's like
that's what's going to get us shut down. That's what's going to get
the smallest.
That's going to get us strike.
Chihuahua, the Great Dane, over and over and over. That Great Dane will eventually breed into something that looks a lot like a Chihuahua and is about the size of a Chihuahua, but it will never ever be.
But evolution isn't true. Okay.
No, I mean, you still have things, you have adaptations within kinds, which completely is a different, that's the biblical version.
And over much more time, you can go, and those kinds can branch off a whole lot. But anyway, we don't need to get back. Evolution.
We can go into that. I could talk about that one later.
Never changed kinds. This is the article that was answering the question. This is the article. It's called Jew or Judah. The original manuscripts never use the word Jew. At theserapeum.com.
Okay, you guys can find it there. It says Jew or Judah.
That verse there that you're citing as evidence, that guy, I can almost guarantee you this is out of context. And he's saying, strictly speaking, semantically speaking, yeah, ancient Israelites weren't called Jews. That's anachronistic. They weren't called Jews until they were the Assyrians conquered the north, and then there was the kingdom of Judah, and then they were the ones that were following Torah. They were called the Yehudis, the Judeans, the Jews. That's where it comes from.
Test it.
So that's all he's saying there. He's not saying that the Jews aren't descendants of Jacob.
Well, you haven't even read it, man. You haven't even read the context.
I can tell just from that quote alone what it is.
Bullshit.
Yeah, I
anyway,
can tell.
I don't agree with this image completely, because there's like this Catholic representation with these funny fish hats, which is what we see with the Dagon fish worshipping hats, which have the 6-pointed star all over them. By the way, there is no such thing as a Star of David. It's the Star of Remphan. They are Satan worshippers, and it's basically a mathematical representation of 666 if you break it down. This is close enough to history. People should basically be able to test this, and it will test true. And I've written in at the bottom, I found this image, but I've written at the bottom, giants, seed of the serpent, because the Canaanite branch specifically that God said to wipe out, leave nothing alive, he told Joshua and the tribes to kill them all. They were described as grasshoppers in their sight when they were talking about themselves. All the references to the Bible, all the way up to Goliath, from the man-eating titans of the pre-flood world to the little old Goliath of the post-flood world. All of those things were seed of the serpent. And that's where you get the Jews. That's why they're basically keeping the same demonic child sacrifice and blood religion that they kept. And the Bible talks about them keeping. So this is the real history that's been hidden from the world. And I might be the first to talk about this particular stuff in this particular order, but this is the truth. And a lot of other people talked about aspects of this. I'm just sort of putting it together because we're in the age of the internet. The Bible says in the end times, knowledge will be increased. I'm not the only one discovering these things, but I have the best archive.
It's and
they're converting Christians to Noahides far more than you could ever dream of, convincing people of your theory.
Look, your argument that they're evil and that they're converting Christians to evil, I agree.
I don't think that they're born evil. I think it's wrong to think people are born evil and cursed, like the Bible says that Esau is born evil and wanting to idol worship in the womb. I think that's immoral. I say the Jews are immoral for saying it about us, and I say you're immoral, and you want the same thing as them. You want the Torah Moshiach. You want me to get down on my knees and worship and be a slave to the Torah Messiah. You're just like the rabbis.
Why do I believe that they're not human, for example? I mean, all I have to do is refer to modern geneticists who will admit that we are a hybrid species because of the existence of Rh negative mothers, for example. They reject their own offspring unless they get
just different lines of primates.
They have
Neanderthals and stuff.
They have different numbers of vertebrae. They reject their own, which is not something you find in the animal kingdom unless you're mixing kinds. Okay, so it's proof from a genetics level that we are not a pure species of one type. We are a hybrid species. Now, that is all the evidence that I need to prove we're a hybrid species. However,
have you done a DNA test? I'm guessing you haven't, right?
When you've done a history study and you find out that the giants were real, the megalithic structures were real, all the stuff the Ancient Aliens show and the History Channel was talking about is pretty much real. They just switch angels to aliens the way that you're switching Israelites to Jew, the way the Jews have done, and the way that most of history has fallen for. But this is the truth, and this is the most dangerous truth in the world to them, besides the flat biblical earth, because that wakes up everybody to the existence of God. You can't deny it when you study it. That's what woke me up. And then when you figure out which God it is, you find out who the enemy is. And when you start to really study the history, the Edomites are that enemy that they say that we are. And they have inverted it, and they have stolen our identity, and they have changed everything in preparation for this lie. And they are trying to wipe us out. And that's why Obadiah 18 is going to wipe out every Jew on earth.
Trust the plan. Trust the biblical plan.
Trust God. Trust Yahweh.
Who speaks for God? God doesn't speak to us. Oh, Paul says that the Jews are the prophets of God and the oracles of God. So if we're listening to the Jews that speak for God, if you're giving them the authority to speak for God, you're making them gods.
The Bible, the scriptures already told us everything in advance. Like the Bible says, he does nothing that he not tell his prophets. I forget the exact phrasing.
You believe in Jewish prophecy? I don't. That's the difference between us.
I've studied it. I've tested it, and it tested.
I've studied it as well.
So test the prophecies. Test them. I have great examples on the website, but many people have broken down the power of prophecy. That's what really convinced me for it in the first place. But like I said,
so you think Jesus fulfilled all the prophecies? What's more likely?
Dozens, perhaps.
That a magical Jewish superhero came and fulfilled all these scriptures, or that some ancient script writer just knew all the prophecies and said, where can I quote mine for source material to create a new narrative to sell to the Goyim?
All those people just went to death, claiming the missing tomb for no reason, man. Why?
No, they didn't. Those are mythical stories.
You're basically you're pushing the fact that you hate Jews, and you have a lot of envy and hate. Or not
I don't hate Jews. I don't like Judaism. Judaism is an obvious threat.
Passion. Let's say passion. You have a lot of passion about this topic, but you reject certain facts. And I could go with you. We could talk. Let's have another debate about flat Earth. Let's have a debate about the.
It's not worth my time, honestly.
Hebrew Israelites. I get that a lot. Let's have another debate about the Hebrew Israelites versus the Jewish so-called.
You should go debate the black Hebrew Israelites and a rabbi, and you can all fight over who the real chosen people is. That should be.
And then we can have whatever other debates you want to have as well. I mean, those two specifically kind of deserve their own breakdown in their own time. who were the real Jews or Israelites, because the word was changed to Jew. It's not Jew.
It's settled. It's
Is the
settled
world
who that is. And who cares? I don't care.
Not settled at all.
I don't believe in chosen
don't
people.
Trust the Jews, Adam. Don't trust
I don't. You trust them. You want to be them.
You trust the Jewish translation of the Bible. You trust the Jewish historians that are telling you that Christianity was a
Jewish translation. How about the Jewish authorship?
We know the Jewish authors were not the authors because there were no Jewish authors. They were, as they said, Israelites. Paul said it when you showed earlier. You read Jew, but you said you saw Israelite.
Paul says he's a Jew, and he wrote half of the New
Israelite.
He wrote half of the New Testament. He also says he's a Jew. He says he's a Jew.
No,
and an Israelite.
Okay, let's close it out.
He also says the Jews are Israelites too.
And the word Yahudim, which is basically the children of Satan, picked the specific tribe the Messiah came from to say that the Messiah didn't come, so they could say their Messiah is coming. It's a big lie, a big scam. They have no evidence for it. They don't fulfill the prophecies. They're evil, pretty much all of them, and they're behind every organized evil on earth.
Okay, so people, if you want to hear these two guys again, be back for another debate, leave me a comment, please. Just say, yeah, I want to hear this again, and maybe a topic. But I'm going to ask each of you one question on the way out, and then we'll be done. So, Dustin, my question to you is, do you believe that God had a chosen people?
Yes, I believe every word of the Bible, if you correct for corruptions. I'm not picking favorites. I'm not saying white people are better. My wife is Asian. My children are half Asian. I'm an Israelite, according to the Bible.
Your kids are only half chosen, I guess.
They're not at all Israelite, but they can be grafted in by faith. And a father has that power if he's a good father. So, and it's a sacred power. So basically, I'm not saying whites are better. I'm saying this is the history of the world. It's the history of all the races. This is the history of the Jews and why they're doing everything that they're doing to us and where all this transgenderism comes from. It's an ancient war. It's the seed war. It's not the culture war. And they're not the chosen people.
Okay. And Adam,
not all whites are the chosen people.
I agree. Nobody's the chosen people.
There's the Israelite whites, which are very multitudinous and see. Abraham had a lot of babies and his family would have the blessing. They became the European nations, but not all whites are Israelites. There's a whole tribe of Japheth as well. Originally, everyone was white. Adam and Eve were white, and the original mankind were white. A lot of people don't like that fact either. I'm not being racist. I'm not being mean. I don't have anything out to get for the Jews, and I wasn't a religious person with a dog in the fight.
So is it not racist when rabbis say that we're Esau and that we're meant to serve them and that we're the seed of Satan? It's not racist? You can't condemn the Jews because you're saying the same thing.
The serve thing is because only one person can inherit the leadership of the household. Yeah. Okay. So in terms of who's going to inherit the leadership, it's not about.
You won't condemn supremacist rabbis.
God uses the word slavery in other places, so it's not about enslaving his brother. In fact, it was the total opposite. Esau constantly tried to murder his brother. So he was hated from before birth, probably for a good reason. Jacob also was not always,
and that's why Jews say Christianity is Esau, and Esau hates Jacob, and the Christians are mad at the Jews for killing Jesus.
Put yourself in my shoes.
Shows you who Esau is in the story.
Think about it from my perspective. 30 seconds. Let me give you this narrative. Okay, what if the Edomite demons that used to be giants and got small and basically we wiped out, except for just a few? The bloodline of Satan, still in connection with Satan, are actually running the deep state and have convinced mankind that we're on a globe, so God's not real, and that they're God's chosen people, so the few religious people who still believe in God buy that narrative instead and basically fall at their feet. It's a very useful lie for them to switch from the bad guy of the Bible that everybody has accepted as historically accurate for most of human history, recent history, to the good guy of the Bible. It's a very, very attractive lie. That's a very useful lie. Now, what you're saying,
it's a dualistic, Kabbalistic,
useful lie to them. You have to go through some real strong mental gymnastics to make Jesus useful to Jews. like slavery.
I'm the one doing mental. Dude, do you not see the Christians in America? Why is America so subservient to Israel, if not because of Christianity and cursed if you curse, blessed if you bless them? They're the chosen people. Our Judeo-Christian values. Let me go bow down to the wall. Let me send you more money. You're going to deny. So now you're denying that Christianity is this like completely kosher and being more Judaized by the day. And by the way, to answer the question about, is there chosen people? No, there's no chosen people. What kind of?
Well, that wasn't your question. Your question is something different. Your question is, so you think I
got to respond to what he said at least real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
10 seconds, 20
10 seconds, go. And then I'll ask you your final question.
There's no greater con than people claiming that they can speak for God And then coincidentally, the people that speak for God and come up with this story, oh, God chose them. What a coincidence. Amazing that God didn't choose their neighbor. And what do you know? Also, the Holy Land of God is also where they live. What a coincidence. It's the greatest con. You have to be so gullible to believe it. It's an obvious psyop. And because of their belief in being the chosen people, chosen to suffer by the nations, this scam has worked, and this is why they have so much power, because of Christianity and this chosen people deception.
So Adam, your question is, so you think you're spinning 1,000 miles per hour, 66,000 miles per hour around the sun, 480,000 miles per hour around the Milky Way, 1.2 million miles per hour we're flying right now, as you can clearly tell, but you don't feel any of that. So I find it fairly gullible myself and there can be no greater con than you've given that belief to some other. You've never tested that. Have you ever tested how fast we're moving? No. So you just believe something that men are telling you. And I don't. And that's my question: do you have any evidence of things that we're moving, that the Earth moves, that we spin, or it's just pretty much something you haven't looked into, and so you believe what great scientists have said?
There's all the evidence in the world. Obviously, we're spinning. That's why we half of the sun, half of the Earth is dark, and the other half is light. All of this stuff, just Google flat Earth debunk. You guys have been so debunked with this shit. It's so discrediting to believe in this. I've watched both sides. I've watched the Eric Dubé nonsense, and I've watched the people debunking it. It's ridiculous. You're proposing. Hold on, let me respond. This is my question. You're proposing a Jewish cosmological worldview that there's a firmament. Okay, God made a firmament. What about?
I can address that.
Shooting stars and asteroids coming through. They're just breaking through the firmament.
What asteroids have you seen come through?
We can use telescopes, and we could see.
They're supposed to kill us for reading.
Hold on, I want to hear what he says.
Let me guess. You think the stars are fake too, right? The stars are just fake.
They're not other suns
or lights
they're
up
smaller
there
and closer. That's all.
But I mean,
we got a sun, and those are suns really far away. It's the obvious explanation.
Oh, that's obvious. So, Adam, what is?
They are.
Do you know how?
They're light.
How long is a trillion?
They're angels. They're fluttering angels.
I didn't say that.
And they're multicolor light.
Flat Earth is so discrediting. I don't even want to be.
Yeah, because if you're gonna straw man it the whole time, then of course it is. So
no, debate somebody who thinks that it's important enough to debate, because I think it's just absolutely discrediting and ridiculous, and just trying to promote a Torah worldview, a Talmudic,
I certainly don't do that.
Worldview.
May I? Because there's the problem cyclically, and I want us to all be friends on this. But cyclically, if you look into the evidence, you must accept that it is a flat Earth, and they're lying to us.
Lots of people have looked into it and think that that's ridiculous. So
none of them have ever gone back from flat.
Again, think about that line of thinking. Just to say, a lot of people have looked into it and they don't agree with it. Well, it's been a setup.
We accept that God is real.
Right. You guys can have your flat Earth debate. I don't need to be here. I don't care.
All right, he doesn't care. Adam, if you ever do care, give me 2 hours and we can just talk about it and be adult about it, because you should be able to be open to conversation. And whether you think it's pointless or not,
you should be honest to logic. Yes,
at least be able to have a conversation about it. But
I mean, how many times do I have to keep debating it? I've debated people. I debated Zerka about this. I debated some other YouTube channel had me on.
Was it a Christian?
No, it wasn't actually.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say, give me a chance, because at least I could see somebody who has a feeling like you do against Christians that's going to have a problem with it.
Just like arguing that, debating about if Jesus is Jewish and if whites are really the secret Israelites and stuff. That's something that's more important, I feel like, to address, because it's far too many people are believing it online, and it's a really it's holding us back. It's a huge distraction, and so is flat Earth. But
I agree, but I think
both topics are so discrediting. I don't even want to entertain it at all or give it any lip service.
I feel the same about the idea that it's Jewish deception. That's sad. You're a Jewish conspiracy denier, in my opinion. Then,
Adam, what were you going to say about telescopes? You said something I didn't hear you finish that.
Telescopes. We could see the planets. We could see other stars. They're not floating somatic angels in the firmament. That's just completely absurd.
Do you know that nobody's ever seen a star as anything more than a pixel? Ever. There's no telescope.
They're really far away.
Yeah, well, I mean, ridiculously far away. Like, do you know how long a trillion seconds is?
So why wouldn't there be other suns?
You just made that up, but that's not logical. What about
made up the sun?
No, there's one sun.
This is so silly, guys. I gotta go. It's been 2 hours and 40 minutes.
All right, Adam.
This isn't a flat Earth debate.
It's not. I wanted to just ask you
that. I won the Christian debate. It's a deception.
All right,
debate over.
Guys, it's been fun. I'm gonna try and get Adam on for 2 hours sometime. I know he never is gonna do it, but we'll try. See you guys next time. We'll be back to Thursday with Speaker's Corner, 3 p.m. Until then, this has been Jeranism with Debatism. Peace. Thanks, guys. All right, and we are clear.